Need to get a mic on. Anton's working on it.
Green light's on.
Try it now.
Hello? Hello?
Yep, there it's working.
All right, I'm not going to introduce myself anymore. So, all right, 2023, the city leaders and business leaders started a foundation, the Sandy Springs Police Foundation. And it was solely to support the Sandy Springs Police. Nothing else, no other reasons. It is a 501c3 organization. It is the funds that we collect via donations, sponsorships, and tax credits go directly to the foundation and will be used for supplies, equipment, tactical instruction center. It will be used for that. Next slide. You got it? Okay. So anyway, the foundation has 19 board members, 7 executive members, and we're engaged in working with the police. There are ways that you can give, and we're going to talk about that in just a few moments. So anyway, we are a 501c3. We are solely support the Sandy Springs Police. At this time, I'm going to let Manny Fialco, chair of our board, talk about funding.
The Less Crime Act was enacted so that we can redirect our own tax dollars to our own community, specifically our own police force. Each person can redirect $5,000, up to $5,000 of their own personal tax liability to the state of Georgia to the Sandy Springs Police Foundation. And each married couple filing jointly can donate up to $10,000. This is a dollar-for-dollar tax credit of funds that we would owe the state of Georgia anyway. It is not an additional donation. It's a dollar-for-dollar tax credit. Corporations can donate up to 75% of their tax liability to the state of Georgia to the foundation, get a dollar-for-dollar tax credit, as if they are paying their state income taxes directly to us. We feel it's better to keep the funds here in Sandy Springs than to, in the words of Chief DeSimone, spend it on filling potholes in Valdosta or pay for new trooper hats. That's a direct quote. We have a working board. This is not an honorary board. A lot of time goes into volunteering to get the word out, what the Sandy Springs Police Foundation does, and how to collect on these tax dollars. It is an onerous process, and it is more than just time-consuming. Most of the executive committee is here. But we're all here except for Beth Burton, Donovan, Denny, Gail, John Paulson right here. Thank you. And Joel Marks is going to speak in a second.
That's a second. Thank you. I want to touch briefly on marketing, which is the biggest challenge of the fund. It's really getting the word out, doing brand awareness. These are just a few of the things. Many of you probably got one of these postcards in your mailbox in the last 2 days as we start doing our first direct mail and marketing campaign. We're at the farmers market when we can be. We pop up where we can go. We meet with local CPAs, tax professionals. I'm proud to announce that this year, so far, year to date, we're 4th in the state on fundraising for our police foundation. That's out of 62 independent police foundations today, right? Number 1 and 2 is the city of Atlanta. They have 2. So there's one other one ahead of us, and we're going to work hard to reclaim our position. That should be hopefully right up there with Atlanta and the others. So it is like it is moving slow than we want because there's a big education, and it's a rather cumbersome process for somebody that's not used to actually working with the Georgia Department of Revenue. Flip to the clicker. Oh, thank you. Our fundraising goal for this year is $3 million through the Less Crime Act. We raised approximately $700,000 last year 600 and change last year. We're over 700 right now. This is our fiscal year ended June 30th, which coincides with the city's fiscal year. That's our goal for our annual fundraising, plus about another $250,000 in charitable donations that are not tax credits, which would net us about $3 million to make it available for the best police force in the country, sitting right behind me. So that is our focus goal. Our long-term goal is to raise the $40 to $50 million plus that we'll need to help fund the future tactical instruction center that the council's been briefed upon before. There is a limit of $3 million per police foundation in the Georgia law. It's subject to an overall limit of $75 million. This last year, about $12 million was raised. This year, $7.5 so far. So that, unlike the SSO or student scholarship organizations, we'll eventually get there. The other police foundations will get their act together. There's another 40 or 50 that will be formed. So it's important that we be first to market to get our money before other people catch up. So $3 million we believe is achievable in this really the first year of the new board. The long-term goal, like I said, is to raise the money necessary to help Sandy Springs build the next component of its Justice Center, the Tactical Instruction Center. I spend time going through it, but you know more about it than I probably do. We know this is going to be a big lift. It'll be on the land next to the Public Safety Headquarters and Justice Center. We have a lot of work to do. Our expectation is that we'll get busy on this part of the project in Q1 of next year, calendar year. It'll give us time to put a capital campaign together, the case for giving, iron out the legal details with my good friend Dan Lee and Eden here on the city and the chief as to what the use of proceeds will be, and then hopefully be able to raise a substantial amount of money towards the ultimate construction and completion of the center. That would be in addition to handling the day-to-day, year-to-year needs of the police foundation. So, next. These are renderings you've already seen. I won't take up much more of our 10 minutes, so I'll turn it back to Manny.
So how can you help? So everybody in this room, whether you live in Sandy Springs, work in Sandy Springs, or just really want to respect our police force, can log on to the website and click where it says Less Crime Act, multiple places on every page, and you can start the ball rolling by getting your Department of Revenue number. And from there, they'll send you an email confirming it. You fill out one more email and then mail in a check like this. This is Stacy and my, where's Don?
Right here.
Dan.
Oh, Dan,
So
check.
this is our check for Stacy and I for our Less Crime Act gift. Glad to do it. Additionally, we have our first major disbursement of $49,135 for the half of the study and drawings and site work plans for the Tactical Instructional Center. Thank you. It's your money. If everybody can check out the QR code here, take a quick picture, or log onto our website, it'll take you to it and get it started. You can call Tom at any time. We can walk you through it over the phone or come meet with you anywhere, anytime, or any member of the executive committee can help you get through the process. And we have every intention of hitting our goal. If you have any questions.
Any questions? All right, Dr. Kelly.
All right, thank you for the presentation. My first question is, can you help myself and the public understand the difference between the Sandy Springs Foundation and the Benevolent Fund?
The Sandy Springs Police Foundation is a
Police Foundation. Right.
Is a 501c3 established for the purpose of collecting the Less Crime Act funds. The Sandy Springs Police Benevolent Fund is for the benefit of officers and first responders, and that I direct your question to Kendi Simone.
Okay. I guess my question is there anything that the foundation can't do that the Benevolent Fund does, or vice versa, or how do we draw that line? I mean,
so Dr. Kelly, I think the easiest way to differentiate between the two is that the Police Foundation is able to receive tax credits,
right,
which the Benevolent Fund cannot. They can only receive regular donations that would be made to a 501c3.
Got it. What about the output? So I'm saying in terms of how money's spent, the benevolent fund is a little more focused.
The benevolent fund
it's
is focused on
The health and
benefiting.
welfare of police department in
That's
time of needs, officers, when they have familial situations, it's really meant for that. It's not meant for capital project, for funding officers, equipment, extra tactical things that the police may need that the budget just can't handle. You know, we have, with $3 million and probably 80 to 90% of the budget dedicated to personnel, there's not always the extra money need. We're trying to fill that extra gap to help supplement the city's annual funding.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could just
Yeah,
add.
Mr. Lee.
Statutorily, the police foundation, the qualified police foundation that the board of which these gentlemen are on, it's set up by the legislature and has a specific purpose. Their money has to be spent to the city. That's mostly. They have some operational costs, equipment and that sort of thing. But with the benevolent fund, it is a standalone 501c3, been established for many years, and is spent to other areas, to first responders in need, families of first responders in need. But this organization's expenditure primarily is to the city of Sandy Springs.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That helps. What's the size of your board? You may have said it. I apologize if I didn't hear it. I see
Our
the
bylaws
executive
allow
committee.
for our bylaws allow for up to 25 members, of which 7 are executive committee members.
Okay. And so you're full right now?
No.
Oh, you're at 19? Okay. My last question, and I guess, Mr. Fialco, you can help me with it. I just want to understand how easy it is. So if how easy it is to do the tax credit program. Is there like a tutorial video? Yes. Okay.
There is, if you go to the website,
How do I get to
there's a
it?
video.
Yeah.
But we've established on the website in orange.
Oh,
there's
I see
multiple
it. How
places.
to-
You can just click Less Crime Act.
Yeah.
Or you can call us, and we will walk you through it.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I do see the tutorial video. Okay, great. Is there a minimum
No.
for the, okay.
No. We've given you the maximums, $5,000 per
Right.
person, $10,000 per married couple filing jointly. And corporations or trusts, up to 75% of their tax liability to the state of Georgia can go directly to us.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, fellas. This card was put on my desk, and I've got a stack of them here. You guys have these for the folks outside. One of the things you'll find on this card is Tom Mahaffey's phone number. I think that's Tom Mahaffey's. So if you have any questions, he's the guy, and he takes these calls gleefully, and helps you work your way through this. I just want to mention one thing. When you donate to other nonprofits, sometimes you can donate up till the middle of April when you finally file your taxes. This is different. You've got to do this by December 31st for it to count in this year. And unfortunately, the clock is ticking. So you don't have until next April. You have until December 31st. So if you're going to do it, sooner the better.
Amen.
Any other questions? All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Appreciate your work. All right, the next item on the work session agenda is the Sandy Springs Foundation update. Ms. Fike.
Good evening. Thank you. Mayor, council members, dedicated city staff, and fellow residents of Sandy Springs. My name's Elizabeth Fite, and I am the vice chair of the Sandy Springs Foundation. I think this presentation will go a little bit smoother because they've already set up the legwork. The Police Foundation, this foundation was also sort of reconstituted in 2023 as a result of, I believe there's a clicker up here. Well, first, let me tell you, as a result of the Veterans Park, and I'm going to get into that in a minute, but our vision for the Sandy Springs Foundation, we are a 501c3, and we're here to inspire a vibrant, connected, and culturally rich Sandy Springs where every resident experiences the joy of community through art, music, celebration, and recreation. So our ultimate goal is to help support financially and secure donations for citywide events and other recreation activities. As I mentioned, we were formed in 2023. We are a 501c3, and our tie-in to the Veterans Park, obviously that existed well before we did. But in 2023, in order to, quote, procure an artistic sculpture to complement and complete the aesthetic of the Veterans Park project, the foundation was tapped as the vehicle to secure donations to fund the sculptures that ultimately ended in the park. So we did not solicit those funds, but we were the vehicle, the 501c3, that allowed that to happen. At the time, I think the sculptures were totaling around $500,000, $470,000, and that was not accounted for in the city's fiscal budget for that year. So the foundation was constituted, and our directive was, after we were all ultimately appointed, the current folks that I have with me here today. Again, my name is Elizabeth Fight. I'm the vice chair. I have with me Christine Probst. She's our chair. Susanna Rome, who is our secretary. Sherwin Nelson Clemens, our treasurer. And we also have Pam Rosenthal, who's here, and our party planner du jour. Also on the board are Eden Freeman. We've got Bill Haggett, and then the mayor, Mayor Paul. Our directive when we were reconstituted as a board was to help support the funding of the Veterans Park. At that point, there were opportunities for people to procure pavers and benches to support their loved ones and have them acknowledged in the park. So our directive was to complete that work and then figure out how we could support other citywide events. So since that happened all around the spring of 2024 when we were appointed as a board, those of us on the board actually were all in the inaugural class of the Sandy Springs Citizens Academy, and that's where I got to sit at the table with you gentlemen. And at the conclusion of our graduation ceremony, that's when we were appointed to the board. We all knew each other through our work in the Citizens Academy, but we hadn't really known each other professionally. So it was a great opportunity for us. The board held its first meeting officially in the spring or summer of 2024, and all of us gathered together in the fall to say, what can we do to promote these citywide events? Just like the Police Foundation Board, we're a working board. We weren't going to be satisfied just sitting there not doing anything. So when talking about what we could do, what was within the scope, unlike the Police Foundation, they have a statutory construct they have to follow. We were just given license to support the city of Sandy Springs and particularly the Performing Arts Center. So we took a look at what was available, and that's when we discovered that the city, obviously, the formatting is not great on the slide. It looks prettier in real life. That the city puts on a number of signature events. Up there, I believe we've got 13 events. We all know those, the most recent one being the Bluestone Arts Festival that I went to this past weekend or 2 weekends ago, and it was lovely. And coming up is the Oktoberfest. And we realized that all these events are put on at no cost to our citizens and the people who want to go, but obviously they incur a cost for the city to put them on. And so the font is small, but I can promise you all this is from our budget, page 137 of the fiscal year 2026 budget. And the big picture item, I don't know how those of you can see this very well, and those of you from home, it'll be blown up and you can see it. But these events cost the city roughly $900,000. I think this year's budget's a little bit down. It was $970 to maybe $915. All of these events have expenditures with them, and they don't often generate revenue. So our number one goal was, how can we help create some public-private partnerships to help fund these events and defray some of the costs of these events that our citizenry counts on now. It's a place for everyone to come together, to have fun, to celebrate the city, to create a sense of community and connection, and we want those events to go on in perpetuity. So our goal is to help defray those costs. In addition, we realize that not every member of the community, every foundation can help offset the cost of these events. So we also wanted to look at other events, other ways in which people could get involved to help support the things in Sandy Springs that they like. So, for example, through our website, you can contribute to pay for someone to attend a youth summer camp. We've got sports camps of various kinds. $85 pays for sports camp. $185 pays for someone to attend an arts camp. You can make those contributions through us, and we work directly with the Department of Recreation or the Recreation and Parks Department. Likewise, we know the city's known for its adaptive recreation, but that equipment, those adaptive bikes, adaptive kayaks, transporting those things, those cost significant. That costs a significant sum of money. And so what we're trying to do also is help raise money and awareness so that we can add to the fleet, so to speak, of the Sandy Springs adaptive bikes, the kayaks, and the other things. I know, for example, this summer you all added adapted fishing as something, but that requires specialized equipment, and not everybody can afford that specialized equipment. So I say these are all the things that we want to do. This is how we can help fund these things. You can go to our website and make contributions. But we realized that because we were a nascent board and we needed to let people know who we were, we've been busy this year in planning a party. And that is the party with the tent that's going to be on the city green that you see being put up right now. So this Thursday, we've created an event. So we went from a board who all met each other for the first time really and worked together last October to this Thursday we are having Celebrate City Springs, which is a 20th anniversary party to honor the city. And the goal is to raise funds for the things that we exactly told you about and to highlight those things. It's a way to introduce us to the community, again, because we don't have the statutory construct that the Police Foundation has, and it's a natural thing people want to give to. We have to be able to say this is what you can do to support us. So this Thursday at 6:30, we're having our party on City Green. We're very excited about it. And for a board that's relatively new, we've gotten some amazing community support already. We've reached out to many of our partners in the community, some of the larger businesses, global businesses that do business in Sandy Springs. And on this slide, you can see some of our wonderful sponsors that we have. We're so happy for them. The support has been amazing. So for this event, we had budgeted or projected that we would hopefully raise about $118,000 before the day of the event. As of October 1st, when I had to get this PowerPoint together, we'd already raised over $128,000. I'll tell you this, the event started, it was at first going to be here in Studio Theater. And then we got too big for that. And then we moved it out to the lobby. And then we were going to try to take the pavilion and the lobby, and we were going to marry all these spaces together. And we got too big for that. So that's why we now have this tent. It can hold up to 500 people. We sold 340 tickets as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. And I imagine, because people are late to the party all the time, we're going to have a tremendous amount of ticket sales over the next 2 days. We're very excited, and for that, we also have QR codes. So I would love for everyone to take a picture of their QR code. I think we had someone also handing out some things. But the most important part is this. You can buy a ticket and come to the party. If that's not your thing and you don't want to come to a party, you can still support by participating in the raffle and the auction. The auction is live now. The raffle is live. People can do that whether or not they can choose to attend. And you can actually, the adaptive recreation piece that I was talking about, you can participate and do regular silent auction type things that are fun. But you can also do the adaptive recreation needs. And we've got them divvied up. Like an adaptive rec bike is $5,000. So what we're saying is if we could get 10 people to make a substantial contribution, we could do that and we could add that. So there are ways for you to give and support well beyond that. If going to a party's not for you, I still invite you to come to our website, look at our website, and those are all the ways in which we can help support. And going forward, our goals are to come up with ways for people to directly sponsor events. The minute we built the website and it went live, we had a major corporation contact us about sponsoring City Green, the concert series. It was too late in the season to accomplish that, but that was just from building a website and getting that out there. So people are interested in supporting Sandy Springs. I think businesses are, foundations are, and we're really appreciative of that support. So with that.
All right, well, thank you. I'll say this. For 20 years, we've been trying to get some of the major marquee businesses engaged in the city, and you folks have done it, so thank you. I appreciate that. Any questions about the foundation and the events coming up? Mr. Paulson.
Hang on. So thank you very much. This company that contacted you about sponsoring the green events for this year, and it was too late. Did you write their name down so you can talk to them?
We've got it noted. Okay. We've got a lot of good notes right now.
Just checking.
Yep.
All right. Any others? All right, Dr. Kelly.
All right, thank you and congratulations. You all have done quite a bit in a short amount of time.
Thank you.
You mentioned one of your earlier exercises being the Veterans Park and the art associated with it. I'll bring to your attention that for the past 2 years we've used the foundation's infrastructure, at least, to solicit donations for the Juneteenth event.
Thank you.
And last year we actually had hoped to engage the board to actually help us with the event, since we're building it sort of from the ground up. And so my question to you is, now that you all are forming and appear to be successfully forming, is specifically what type of help or support or partnership can be had for not just that event, but are there any particular signature events from that list that you guys have an eye on going into, let's say, 2026?
Candidly, not yet, because we were getting through this event, because this was our launch. However, we know that we've got the infrastructure now in place to be able to support events like Juneteenth and to provide platforms where donors can come directly to say, this is, a front loading. I know on the back end we were supportive in that way, but able to market that, to come up with ways, to know what the costs are exactly, to be able to present sponsorship packages, I think, too. So we're prepared to do all of those things. We've just got to get through this iteration of what we're doing now. Oh,
and I did
she's
want to
stealthy,
add to
y'all.
that. So you did a phenomenal job on Juneteenth. It was a fabulous event, and it was unfortunate we couldn't help more. But we do have the infrastructure in place now. If you go to our website, we have all those signature events on the website.
Yes.
We've built campaign pages for each one of those. So what we need to do next is to work with you and the other, leaders of those signature events to come up with those sponsor packages, and we will sell with you. We'll go out there and contact those companies. We'll help with all the paperwork we can do, and all of it can be done online now, which is going to be a huge help. But when you came to us, we were a bit deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
So we're getting there.
Yeah, and I've been waiting on y'all to, so
that.
yeah,
Thank you.
let's get together after your
You could get
next
another
exercise.
question.
Yeah.
But we're
Thank
here
you.
to help.
Any other questions? Mr. Bauman?
Thank you both. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Sherwin. I see you over there. I've got tickets for Thursday night,
Thank you.
so I'm looking forward to coming. I've got a couple of events that night, so juggling things. Can you, and maybe Dan can, discuss sort of what is the legal relationship between the foundation, which sounds like it's going to do great work, and the city? And one of the questions being, does it rise to the level of being subject to open records? What is so who's making the decisions on how to allocate money? So can somebody address sort of the legal relationship? I heard that the mayor was on the board. Is that the mayor position by charter, or is it by just the person currently occupying the mayor's seat?
Well, first I would tell you, your vice chair is a better lawyer than I am. The relationship is not necessarily a legal one. This foundation has its own autonomy, and its purpose, as stated in its bylaws and charter, is to do exactly what the speakers have talked about today. And hopefully there will be a partnership, informal and not statutory, between the city for the purposes they've outlined. It's all voluntary.
Right, but the city, I assume, is still making decisions on the events that we're going to have as a city, correct? And would want to have some say on how, all of the resources will help to reduce basically what the city's $995,000 nut is on the events, or is it to add to the events? Is the purpose to reduce the city's cost or to be accretive to what the city is doing? Because I've heard a couple of different things. For example, scholarships for youth or for programming. As a council member, as a policymaker, it has been my belief, and I think shared by colleagues, that we do not want folks that can't participate but for the cost to be left out of the equation. For example, at Sandy Springs Youth Sports. That doesn't mean it's all or nothing. Have skin in the game. So I could see a situation where, like as a contributor, I want to be sure that my dollars are going to the best use. Is it really just to reduce this? Is this just sort of a vehicle to reduce the city's nut on these programs, or is it to be accretive to what we're doing?
Let me mention one thing quickly. First off, there is no ownership of the city in this foundation. The foundation has its own autonomy. And so its bylaws, its charter, its meeting, the votes of its board decide where they raise money, where they spend money. And it hopefully is built upon a partnership with the city to help give input to what shows go on, how they're funded. And as you know, the city is hamstrung greatly by not being able to donate money, donate funds under the gratuities clause of the Constitution. And this foundation's, one of its sole purposes is to be able to do that with contributed money and not taxpayer money.
Right, but didn't we run into a situation with what is now called the Sandy Springs Arts Foundation, where they were ostensibly set up for the similar reason, but then that board eventually started contributing to programs that were not necessarily city-sponsored events? I think this is fantastic. I'm just asking some questions. So
Sure.
let me just,
Yeah.
period, full stop, fantastic. Anything to engage the community, anything to engage the corporations, wonderful. It's amazing, and to uplift Juneteenth. But I'm wondering where else this
Yes.
may go. And I'm asking really, not as both as a councilman as a potential contributor.
So I appreciate that question, and it's a great question. So initially, the focus has been on these signature events because that was something pretty clear and concrete that we could focus on. But absolutely 100% we want to do things that don't exist. Okay, so a couple examples. If we can raise funds to do more of the youth programs through the Performing Arts Center and be able to, fund an entire show for a matinee for children, that's something we want to do. One of the things that we talked about that's very near and dear to the executive director's heart would be a youth orchestra, or maybe we start with a youth orchestra camp. Absolutely, we want to help children go to camp who couldn't normally afford to go to camp. And then as we, again, it's been a year, but as we get more into this, and we all have fantastic ideas, but we had to focus very quickly on what we can accomplish in a relatively short time. So right now, the event is on Thursday. That's to get our name out. That's to raise funds to get us started in that direction. And then I would think from a year, if we've accomplished this much in 1 year, just imagine where we'll be a year from now.
And it feels a little bit like a auxiliary board that might be set up for the purpose of supporting sports at a college or something like that. I mean, it sounds like there's a loose relationship, but as an independent body, I mean, presumably your decision-making on the outflow will be your decision, the board's decision. And then, of course, the city has to go through processes for how it receives grants as well. But it sounds like there's good coordination here as well.
Yeah.
Sherwin, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
So Sherwin Clemens, Ms. Mayor, treasurer for the board. I think it's a great question that you're asking. It's like, where are the dollars really going? How much is the city controlling where the dollars are going? It's a very fair question. This is really for those events that we've set up, that we've identified here. And when donors go to our page, they have the opportunity to direct exactly where they want those funds to go. So like any 501c3 with having to answer to our donors and auditors, those dollars are being tracked. And if you say, I want to support scholarship to a rec center for kids who can't afford it, you'll be able to then be able to go and track that. Now, there is a loose relationship between this board and the city because we are surveying the city and its projects. And by bylaw, the mayor, not Rusty Paul, but the mayor has a seat on the board of directors as it is currently set up.
Well, I just thank you for clarifying that. Now, purely putting in my donor hat,
Okay.
the question I will have is, are these dollars going to basically, are they designed to reduce what the city's budget is, or is there something accretive? Because I'm not, I pay my taxes. I do know with the foundation, I feel like with the police foundation, it's a fairly clear straight line between the dollars that we contribute and the extra things that are being done. I mean, you could argue potentially that there'll be some offset to the city's general budget, but I mean, clearly this training facility is not within our means. So that is a value add plus up. Also, it's dollar for dollar tax. This is a 501c3 deduction. I would strongly recommend that we demonstrate through this foundation where these dollars aren't just a way to drop the city's obligation on its things. And maybe it's a little bit of both, because as a city, we want to do things, but sometimes our wants are outweighed by our needs, and it may be problematic. And we've decided as a matter of policy to do this $995,000, but frankly, we know in Parks and Rec, our demand way outweighs our supply right now, and we know there's a huge demand for additional arts programming, and hopefully this will be accretive to that, because I'm not looking as a policymaker right now to just say, well, go out and raise the money so we can drop, our current commitment levels. That's not what I'm particularly looking to do. So, but I do want to thank you, all of you, and I made some confusion. Suzanne, you're over there. Christine, you're over here. I apologize.
It's okay. We do that all the time.
No, but I should know better.
Cute. Yeah, but the goal, as was stated earlier, is to kind of continue the tradition of Sandy Springs with having public-private partnerships. And we're not trying to get rid of any program. We want the city to continue to enjoy what we've created here and to see that grow into the future. And we want to be able to reduce. I would like for my taxpayer dollars to go to other things in my community and give our business owners, small and large, and others within our community who have foundations, the opportunity to help support these events that they and their employees and those who come into Sandy Springs benefit from. I know from the events I go to, it's not just Sandy Springs residents who are there, but businesses in our community are also benefiting from it. And we would love for them not to see this existing audience as a great opportunity for them to get their name out there in front of their potential customers. And we thank you for your time.
Ms. Rochelle.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all the hard work y'all are doing, especially for the event on Thursday night. I'm very excited about it. Is there a budget that we can see? Is it on your website? And also, I'm just trying to understand, if there's someone that wants to do a project in Sandy Springs that's not part of the city, say if someone wants to do a camp for kids, can they apply to you, or is this all for the city events?
So we are so new.
You're what?
We are so new to this, and we have had a few events that we've partnered with. So like, for example, the ones that Elizabeth mentioned earlier with the adaptive sports, as an example, that's a partnership that was sought out. How can we be more supportive of that?
Is that within our Parks and Rec though, or that's not outside of our Parks and Rec?
But it wasn't a signature event that we were necessarily looking at when we first came aboard for this. I don't remember the whole history behind it, but yeah, we're willing to talk to other partners within the community because we are a resource with our structure that's in place. Now, in terms of a budget, we don't have a budget we can hand to you today. We are very, very new and stepping in. We came in with what we were given in terms of the budget that was set before, but that is going to be a part of, as we build out our board. We're a very small board. I think we have 7 members right now. And as we build out our board and move forward, that'll be a project that we're going to be taking on. We've been figuring out how to get checks out the door and how to take payments and how to make payments, so forth. But that is something we're definitely looking at.
So eventually you'll have it on your website?
Yeah, yeah. And you can actually go and you can look at the 990s for the organization because it is a 501c3 public nonprofit. So you can see that information. It is public.
So let me just make sure I understand. So all of the money that you're raising will go towards funding one of the signature events, nothing outside of the signature events.
No, we're raising money for the Recreation and Parks Adaptive Rec as well. Adaptive Rec. So it's not. So to answer the first part of your question, if somebody came up and they said, we want to create a new sports program, or we want to put on a show, or we want to do some kind of activity, and we want to partner with the Sandy Springs Foundation, and it benefits citizens of Sandy Springs. In other words, I'm not interested in DeKalb or Brookhaven, but Sandy Springs, we would absolutely, positively have that conversation. And we are hoping to grow and build on, again, to be additive
And
to
how
do
do you
those
decide?
types of things.
Oh, sorry. How do you decide whether it's going to be a yes or no? Do you have a vote within your board?
I mean, we're a board, so we do have, to have a quorum. We have to vote on these decisions. Do we have a process in place to vet those at this point? No.
So our first priority right now is to work towards the signature events and to support adaptive recreation and the summer camps that we have identified. If I were to look into my crystal ball, I think our next initiative would be to see what we could do to build out the youth orchestra, because that is very near and dear to our executive directors of the PAC's heart. So beyond that, all of these are great ideas and all of these are great things. These are things we aspire to do, but we've got to get the time to get there to figure that out. So right now, first, we're supporting our signature events. We're all learning about adaptive recreation and how we can be helpful for that. And like I said, I think the youth orchestra is probably our next thing, because we've been told a lot that there are different schools that have these programs, they have these abilities, but we're talking about a youth orchestra where it doesn't matter what school district you're in. It doesn't matter what school you go to. As long as you're a Sandy Springs resident, you can come together and we can help support that. So that's probably our next line. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, why
All
did
right.
they go away? Oh, they took it away.
Thank you very much for the great work you've done already and what we know you're going to continue to do, and we're looking forward to your party on Thursday
We're
night.
excited to see all of y'all Thursday night.
Thank you.
And anybody in this room who has not bought their ticket yet, please buy your ticket and come see
Well,
us
this is the
Thursday night.
kickoff to our 20th anniversary, so
That's
thank
right.
you.
It's gonna
Thank
be
you.
wonderful.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the automated speed detection devices in school zones. Lieutenant.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me get this clicker. All right, we're going to talk about the automated speed detection device. So in December 2001, the school speed enforcement camera program was presented to the council work session with a possible agreement with Red Speed LLC. And Red LLC, or Red Speed, is going to provide the cameras, the installation, maintain the equipment, and the speed warning signages. And then the Sandy Springs Police Department will review the videos and the photo of each prior to issuing the citations. The revenue for the Red Speed Georgia receives 35%, and the City of Sandy Springs receives 65%. And this agreement expires on June 30th of 2026. The two locations that they were put, one was off of North Springs High School, off of Dalrymple Road, and the other one is at the Riverwood International Charter School off of Hurds Ferry. Of November 2023, the council approved a memorandum of understanding between the Fulton County School System and the City of Sandy Springs. And then in February 2025, the equipment was installed and the traffic unit started reviewing the citations. We gave like a 30-day period, just as a red light, new red light, stop signs or whatever. On March of 2025, the citations started being enforced. Although the speed limits are enforced throughout the city, all over, just during the school for 24 hours, the school zone is only operated within the school period, 1 hour before and 1 hour after and during the school period. So between 8:20 and 3:20, the speed limit is 35 miles an hour is enforced. When the lights are on, between 7:20 and 8:20 a.m., the speed limit is dropped to 25 miles per hour. And then at 3:30 to 4:30, it's dropped back down to 25 miles an hour. The speed limit in any school zone, with officers can go out, we can enforce it with 1 over. But just to make sure that there's no error or anything like that, we gave a buffer of 10 miles an hour. So anything 11 and over, the citation is being issued. So in a 25 miles an hour zone, a 26 mile an hour or above would receive the citation. The same thing as in the 35 mile an hour zone, a 46 mile an hour. Anything over 46 and above would be issued a citation. And the buffer was to establish any buffer for any discrepancies or anything like that. Confirming citations, the Sandy Springs Police Department officer must inspect it. So we have officers that will open up the red speed daily, and they will go through each and every citation. They make sure, one, that it is within the time frame. So before we get it, red speed goes through it, and then make sure that there's no errors where it's a weekend or before school hours or after school hours. And then the officer will then look at the citation, each and every one. There's a video that he'll watch. He makes sure that, one, that it is the vehicle, that is. If there's more than one or two, like 2 or 3 vehicles, if there's any doubt, he dismisses the citation. The revenue, so the first offense is $75. I do believe that there's a $5 court fee. And then the second offense is $125 with a $5 court fee. This does not go on anyone's driving record. It's merely a civil citation that's brought to them. And only the funds can go to the local law enforcement or public safety initiatives. So any unpaid or uncontested citations, so they get a first notice and they give instructions of how to take care of the citation. They can either pay it, they can set up a court date, dispute it. If they don't respond, there's a second one that is sent with a new date of return. The right of to contest the violation is waived. If a second notice is unpaid and the final notice is sent, then it is sent to the Department of Revenue, and then the person that got the citation will not be able to renew their tag until the citation is paid for. So the sign requirements that are there, the state law requires that the signs be at least 20 by 30 inches in area and shall warn the approaching motorist that the speed detection devices are being employed. The signs must be placed within 500 feet prior to the warning sign announcing the reduction of speed limit of the school zone, and it's got to be visible for every lane. So if you look on Roswell Road, we don't do it on Roswell Road because in order to do that, it would have to have signage all the way across keeping them, because if you're in the number 1 lane closest to the center and a car's beside you, then it could obstruct their view and they wouldn't be able to see the signage. An additional signage by the city defines. There was additional signage that was provided by the city that's defined times and speed limits. And here's the signage. I know they've got them out at the new locations, and I saw the one on Dalrymple, and it shows them between 7:20 and 8:20, the speed limit is 25. 8:20 to 3:30, the speed limit is 35. And from 3:30 to 4:30, the speed limit is 25. And there's also a photo enforced sign, as you can see there, letting them know that it is photo enforced. How to contest a violation: you can either testify under oath in open court, or you can submit a sworn affidavit or notarized statement stating that you were not the operator of the vehicle. Come in there and say, I wasn't driving it, mechanic, whoever was driving the vehicle, it was not me. Or you can present a certified copy of a police report showing that the vehicle was either stolen or was no longer in your possession. Additional option is request a court hearing. Must be received on or before the payment, or contest must be received by a date listed on the back of the notice, and the notification by mail of assigned hearing date, time, and location. You can schedule a court hearing by phone by calling the City of Sandy Springs School Zone Safety Program customer service. They can help you with any questions that you have. So these are the citations that we've got since April through September. So at Riverwood, there was 17 citations in April. We had a flashing light out, and it was also started in the later. So if you was going westbound on Herds Ferry, then we wasn't doing the 25. We waited till we got the lights going. And then in May, there was 125. In June and July, there was no citations. There was no school. In August, when school started back, there was 511. In September, there was 543, and then 1,108 total for Riverwood. At North Springs, it was 321 in April, 621 in May, 710 in August, 357 in September, for a total of 2,009. As you can see, in June and July, there was no citations issued because school was not in session. It shows the payments that have been processed for April, May, June, July, August, September, and the total that have been paid for the Riverwood. You can see that there's numbers in June and July. It's just when they receive the payment. So if they've got one in May, they may have submitted the payment in June, and some may have submitted it in July. The same thing for North Springs High School. There's April through September, and there's been a total of 1,244 citations issued. So the total amount in April, you've got April, May, June, July, August, September. For Riverwood, there's been a total of $40,900 collected. And then for North Springs High School on Herds Ferry, there's been a total of $101,670 in citations that's been received.
You mean on Dalrymple?
I'm sorry?
On Dalrymple for North Springs?
Yes, on Dalrymple. Yes, ma'am. So when they started the research into this, they started looking at accident matrix. And so in 2022, those school zone areas on Dalrymple and right there at Riverwood, in 2022, there was 2 vehicle accidents. We're not counting private property because schools, I'm sure they have a lot of them, but the ones that were on the road. In 2023, there were 7. In 2024, there was 5. And then from January to March 26, before we started this, there was 3. From March 27th to September 27th, we've had 1 crash since it's been implemented. There's been no pedestrian accidents that's been reported between 2022 and 2025 that's been on the roadways. So there's 2 proposed bills. House Bill 225, the bill aims to ban the use of automated speed cameras in school zones statewide. It will prohibit the city from entering into or renewing a contract relative to the speed violations in the school zones through the use of automated traffic enforcement safety devices. The Georgia House Representatives passed House Bill 225 on March 4th, 2025, with a vote of 129 to 37. And now the bill is now under consideration with the Georgia Senate. And under the House Bill 651, this bill proposes reforms to the existing regulations governing school zone speed cameras, and it's seeking to limit the operational hours of these cameras to periods when school zone speed lights or limits are in effect, specifically during the morning drop-off and the afternoon pick-up times. It also mandates the flashing lights be active when the cameras are operating and requires the installation of signs displaying motorist speed prior to entering the school zones. There'll also be limitations on fees associated with the citations, and will not allow the city to send unpaid school zone tickets to the Department of Revenue. House Bill 651 passed the Georgia House with 164 votes to 8 and is now under consideration in the Georgia Senate. So we could look at continuing the program, and then we have additional signage highlighting the photo enforcement times and speeds, which we've already implemented.
All right. You've heard the report of the lieutenant. Any questions? Ms. Rochelle.
I have a few. So Red Speed made, it looks like about $49,700 in profit
I got to go back to look here.
because they made 35%.
Correct.
I mean, that's a lot of money for, okay. So from our, I have a few questions. So one, do we look at non-residents and residents as far as who's getting the tickets? And it looked like from the numbers that we gave out 1,108 tickets, and there was 497 that actually passed to go on to get paid for, right? So that takes a lot of time, it seems like, from the police officers' time to go through all 1,108 tickets, and then only 497 of them get processed. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly?
So as far as looking at the residents and non-residents, we don't do that. The same thing as if we were running a laser or radar out there. Whoever the violator is, that's who gets the citation, whether you live there or not. I know that there's 497 paid, and you're looking at some that are in September that probably has just gotten the citation, and then there was a lot that was not.
Actually, I was looking at just Riverwood. So if you look at the total is 3,117, and out of those, 1,741 actually got processed or did they just get paid, or are those the ones that actually went through,
those are the ones that
through because they made sure that the person was driving was the correct person and that it was the right car and all that? Is that?
Right, I understand what you're saying. So the 1,741 are the ones that have paid. The rest of the 3,100 or 3,117, the remainder are either asked for a court or have not responded at all.
I guess I want to know, like, how much time has this taken our police officers go through? It seems like a lot of time to go through all these 3,117 tickets. It seems like a lot of time to go through this.
So
go ahead.
Okay. So with the 2 cameras that we have, the officers probably spend about 12 hours a week going through it. So 2 hours, sometimes 3 a day, just depends on how many come through. Because of the 3,100, if you look up top, there was 2,685 citations that have been denied. And the reason why they're denied is if the school zone, like within the camera, we'll look at it and say it's 8:24 or 7:24. We try to give a break because some people, like on Riverwood or North Springs, may be at the gas station between that time, and then they come out and go right to go east on Dalrymple. So we try to have allot them the time. So we kind of give it from like 8:30 till about 7:30 till about 8:10 in the morning is like when we're really enforcing it. Any before that, any doubt, we throw it out. And then the other ones of the 2,685 that we had dismissed is if there's like 2 or 3 cars that are on the video and the officer looks at it, he's like, I know it says this one, but I'm not 100% sure. He dismisses it. So really it would be close to 6,000 that they viewed in that. And of the 6,000, 2,685 was ones that was dismissed.
It takes 12 hours a week, you said?
Probably about 12 to 13. They come in the morning, they'll spend a couple hours to do it, and then in the afternoon they'll look to see if some new ones had popped in, and then they'll knock it through.
And have we looked at doing, can we put speed cushions out there instead of these cameras on these roads? Because, I mean, I know people have gotten 10 tickets, and I feel like it's a lot of, the company is making a lot of profit. I want, of course, our kids to be safe, and I want to figure out who's getting the tickets. Is it the students getting the tickets? Is it the parents getting the tickets? Is it people going through from Cobb County? And have we thought, or is it possible to look at putting speed cushions out there instead of these cameras?
Given the traffic volumes on the roads that these are on, it would really not be feasible to put cushions or speed humps out there. And on top of that, to your point about who is being ticketed, the police have to be agnostic in that. We can't take into consideration who it is when we issue a ticket.
Right. So what are we looking at tonight? We're just trying to...
This is just for information.
Just information, okay.
And the primary question was, do you want to continue the program? We have installed the additional signage that council requested. Caroline, if you can go back over to that. The new sign is, I believe the size of it is 6 feet wide, and I can't read it.
2 feet.
And 2 feet tall. So it is much more visible the times of day that it is being enforced and the speeds that are being enforced at. It also does not show that we are not issuing the ticket until they are going 11 miles over that. We don't. We just post the actual speed limit.
Hold on. Ms. Reichel, are you done? All right, Ms. Mueller and then Mr. DiGiulio. Excuse me, Ms. Mueller and then Mr. DiGiulio. Make sure I get it right.
Okay. Yeah. So, Eden, question. I think that there's probably some sort of a termination in the contract if we were to make that decision. Can you talk about what those conditions would be?
There is, I believe it's a 30 days to terminate. The contract is automatically scheduled to terminate at the end of next year, December of 2026. I will try to pull it up right here because I don't have it at my fingertips, so give me just a...
Yeah, I just didn't know if there's, sometimes contracts have penalties for...
Is it 60 days? Dan says it's 60 days.
Yeah.
And there's
Thank
no
you.
penalty, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
We just
So
have to enforce it for that 60 days.
60-day
until-
period, and then,
Correct.
okay, thank you for that information.
Mr. DiGiulio.
Yeah, I have a question. This might be more of a question for you, Rusty. Did I understand correctly? Could you go back a couple of slides here, or forward? Go back. Go forward a couple.
Which slide you looking for?
I'm looking for the one about the legislature.
All right.
Yeah. There.
All right, that's the one. The bill aims to ban the use of automatic speed cameras in school zones statewide. I remember when we first incorporated, and you'll remember this, Rusty, we did quite a bit of debating about red light cameras.
Red light cameras.
And red light cameras at the time were legal.
Mhm.
And we decided not to do that at that time. And within a year or two, they disappeared completely.
Right.
I have been hearing a lot about these school zones where people are upset about them. And if these things are correct in here, it looks like, I mean, a vote of 129 to 37 doesn't seem like it's real close.
Well, it's interesting. There are two bills that passed the House, and I think Mr. Lee, being also an alumnus of the institution, will agree that you don't. This never happens, And so the House sent two bills over. One bans them, which is by Representative Dale Washburn. The other, 651, modifies the existing program to really only enforce it during the school arrival and departure times and not during the middle of the school day like the current law does. So they got to the Senate, and the Senate looked and said, well, which one do you want us to pass? And they got less than clear instructions from the House, so they just sat on them. And so that's why you are where they are. I mean, there was more support for modifying it, as you see from the 164 to 8 vote, than there was to ban them totally. The good news is that the Sandy Springs City Council doesn't make nearly as many changes in the law as the Georgia General Assembly does, and this is an ongoing issue about this. They ultimately banned the red light cameras. That's why we don't have them today. They've come back with school zones, and I think school zones are a special case. I mean, you got your kids going through there, so that's why they've come back with this as opposed to the red light cameras.
Is there anything in the law about how the money has to be spent?
Yes, that's defined. I think the lieutenant outlined how the money is apportioned.
Yeah, it was.
Well, the current law is that the funds are received by the city, but it's 65-35. Under these two bills that are proposed, one does away with, and the other one changes that the funds have to be used for school safety programs.
But right now, the money goes into the general fund,
Correct.
just like any other fund.
Fine, that's correct.
Yeah. Mr. Baumann.
Thank you, Lieutenant. First, let me just ask a foundational question. How are we calibrating these cameras? Because that continues to come up.
Right. So every morning when it comes on, it calibrates itself and it runs off a calibration. And at the end of the day, it runs another calibration. So I think we've had maybe 10 people who have contested the citations. And when they come, the calibrations are shown there and before.
We have high confidence in that. We
Yes.
have, yeah.
Yes.
How does this? So let me ask you this: if somebody's doing 75 miles an hour and they get flagged, is that the same price as somebody going 11 miles over?
That's correct.
All right. Could be an issue. How do these prices? How do these fees compare to our regular speeding tickets? Are those tied to the amount of speed over the limit?
No, these are probably, and I believe that most of our speeding tickets are anywhere from 250 and above,
Okay.
depends on.
So these, it is a lot, but it's lower than our
Correct.
recorded speed tickets. I mean, what I would say to, I'm glad we're doing the signage. The warnings are there now, although I still wonder, I look at those signs, if you go back to the picture, the white with the black lettering just really doesn't stand out like the gold signs with the black images. I don't know what it is, but is this the best we've got? Is there anything we can do to make it even bolder? I am interested. I'll stop and let me answer that question. What led you to decide to do white with black lettering?
This was the recommendation of our traffic engineering professionals because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that signage is also not a distraction on the roadway. But we can certainly...
I see both, right? I mean, this is clearly a cautionary sign, the yellow. I'm going to be very interested to see the success of this. I don't have a lot of sympathy for calibrated equipment for the person who has 10 tickets. I just don't have a lot of empathy for that. We do need to slow down, and we need to slow down all over the city, especially near our school zones. The concern here was fair warning, due process, accuracy of this equipment. I do look at the sign and I say, when I look at this picture, that's not what stands out to me, but it will be interesting. There was a small reduction of citations issued. It's kind of hard to say because you have the wild card of the rejected ones.
Correct.
So I don't really know what the basis of this, but if there's any way to do an apples to apples, we do want to see, I mean, October, hopefully this is starting to come down. Will start to come down, these numbers with signage. But the very best we've got with signage and warnings until, I mean, the legislature may take this out of our hands soon anyway, but we do need people to slow down.
And I think over the time, it's conditioning. Like people, like new school, when school starts back, it's just, it's conditioning, getting people aware. When people drive home, when I drive home, I know I have them where I drive home. And I'm like, oh, I know there's one there. And it's just going to take time.
I have one more question.
All right, Ms. Rochelle.
I just have one more question. We can't, until the legislature decides, we can't say, okay, we can keep the cameras on just during the beginning of school and the end of school, right? It has to be on the whole day?
So I have spoken with Red Speed, and there is a way. So I think we actually spoke to, I believe, Roswell and Alpharetta as well. And I think Alpharetta is trying it now where it's just the flashing lights, and Roswell raised their speed limit to like 15 over. But I'm not sure with Red Speed, but I believe that we could.
Okay, well, I'd be interested in hearing some other options, like the hours and raising the speed limit. So I would be interested in that. Thank you.
Dr. Kelly?
I agree. This is the first I'm hearing that we could possibly modify. We possibly have some control over the timing, the enforcement, the timing in which enforcement occurs. Another question about control. We have complete control over the fee schedule, the 75, 125, as a city. That's
I believe that is what it is set for that. I don't think we can adjust the fine.
Oh, we can't adjust the size of the fine?
No.
The process, including the speeds, the timing, is part of a contract. Because keep in mind, we're doing two things here. We're enforcing a speed limit, and we're using an alternative method of doing it. And we're doing that with a contract with this vendor. And that contract sets out these rules that y'all are questioning right now. So to change that, the vendor would have to sign off on it, or we'd have to terminate. The contract with them says that we will operate it the hours we have, an hour before all the way through school to an hour afterwards. And the speeds are set in the contract, and the price is set in the contract.
Okay, because I was under the impression state law prohibited us from limiting the hours. You're saying that's not the case. It's a contract.
It depends on which way you can't raise it.
Right.
Right.
But we could limit it if we wanted to do flashing lights only.
I
did not. That's my first time hearing that.
And going back to the question about the legislation, the main difference in those two bills is the first one is prohibiting cities from contracting with entities to do this for them. It doesn't do away with speed cameras. It does away with the city's ability to contract it away.
Okay, understood. I have a question about, I just want to see if my math is correct. I want to make sure I understand. Can we go to the slide with the numbers? All right, so we're saying The 142,000 is the result of about 56% of the issued citations being paid?
That's correct.
Okay, so there's still approximately, proportionately, $112,000 out there that hasn't been paid. So if everyone had paid their citations over these 6 months, April to September, 5 or 6 months, depending on how you slice it, we'd be looking at around $250,000 collected. That's a lot of money. That's all I want to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. I guess a couple goals here come back to my mind as I'm looking at this. I would like us to not have to issue any tickets, but that requires our drivers to drive the speed limit. So let's go back to basics. Is there another way for us to get these drivers that are driving by the school to not speed? And you've already given them 10 miles an hour over, which I actually think is quite fair. And I'm going to finish this comment by many years ago when I was very, very young. I got one of these tickets by a school. And to this day, when I drive by that school, I remember I got a ticket there. And so I slow down. So I only got one. So it seems to me, how do we modify behavior? This is one way to do it. I guess another would be to set a police car there with flashing lights. Is there another way we can do this? What else can we do to get these fines down to zero so that people aren't speeding?
That's a great question. That's $1 million question.
I know. That's why I'm asking you.
We just through education and condense and we do a lot of classes like even parent-teen driving. Like when we talk about that, we tell about the parents and talk about the school zone and how important it is, because it's not just the people dropping kids off at the beginning and picking them up at the end. There's also field trips that come on. They have kids like in high school that leave at lunchtime that do half days and they work part of their other stuff. And with this here, this allows us to use our officers. This is a resource, and it helps us put our other officers in other locations like other neighborhoods and Roswell Road or the parks and stuff like that. So, but as far as getting people to stop speeding, I wish I knew I'd be a gazillionaire.
Well, I'm not interested in the money. I'm interested in reducing the speeding, because when you have people that speed, bad things can happen. So I'm in favor of keeping this. If there's a way for us to make it even more obvious that they're going to get a ticket if they go into this area, then I'm interested in what we can do to make this more obvious. I don't ever want anybody to say, I didn't notice these signs, that's why I was speeding. It seems to me anybody paying any attention would notice these signs already. But if there's another way to make them even more obvious, I'd be interested in what that could be.
Well, the legislature, I'm sure, are going to make some refinements in this bill, in these laws. One of these bills will pass probably in a modified version in the legislative session. So we're trying to hit a moving target. I would just kind of counsel, let's wait to see what the General Assembly does. If they don't do anything, then we've got some flexibility to deal with it. But if we're trying to change things now, we may have to change them again in January, February. And that's going to add more confusion to the drivers out there by trying to figure out what we're doing. So a little stability until we can figure out what the legislature is going to allow us to do might be the better approach to this, rather than trying to change them now and then changing them again in February. All right, we'll close the work session. I'm sorry, we got one more. I got to turn the page, huh? Public Works. I'm sorry. I didn't turn the page. Marty was sitting there ready to go.
Mayor and Council, good evening. The city's traffic calming program was first adopted in March of 2006. The policy was subsequently amended or updated October 21st, 2008. November 19, 2013, and October 30th, 2020 was our most recent revision to the policy. You heard all of that from Kristen Westcott, our Traffic and Transportation Unit Manager, in her presentation that she provided to you all about our traffic calming policy on June 3rd of this year. Along with that presentation that Kristen provided to you in June of this year, she also provided several recommendations to you on considerations in updating the traffic calming policy. What I've been asked to do this evening is bring back to you those considerations for updates to the traffic calming policy. And what I'd like to do first is ask Kristen, if she would please, to give you a recap of the program since its most recent update in 2020. And with that, then, I'd like to ask for your support in potentially polling you all tonight on those recommendations that were provided via that June presentation that Kristen provided, in the interest of us then updating the policy per those recommendations. Those things we want to move forward with, those that we may want to modify, et cetera, in the interest of updating the policy per council's wishes and desires that we would bring back to you in a future meeting. If I would ask, as Kristen goes through a brief recap of the program as provided in June, if you could please reserve your questions till the polling at the end. Yes, sir. So with that, Kristen, if you would, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So just to remind everybody, this map actually just shows where we have existing traffic calming treatments throughout the city. There's a lot of different treatment types. And then where we have, since 2020, conducted studies and what the results of those studies were. But we also have that. Starting back, this goes back to the 2020. We've worked with quite a few neighborhoods, well over 20, showing which neighborhoods qualified per our current criteria and then what our recommendations were. And we have actually just completed 3 traffic calming studies this fall for 3 additional neighborhoods. Just wanted to pause here for a second. We did, with staff, contact and look and interview some of our adjacent jurisdictions on what their traffic calming policies look like. So specifically, what kind of speed criteria are they using to determine that there's an issue? Also, what kind of neighborhood approval process they go through, as well as how they pay for those devices. This is just a reminder that once we have installed, no matter what the device is across the city, the city is responsible for maintenance, and so there is a maintenance cost to that. And I think there was a question of previously, how many communities have you worked with where they did not implement treatments, and so this gives a summary of that. With the footnote that Jet Road and River Shore Estates were successful in implementing some of their recommended treatments, but they didn't move forward with all of their recommendations, and that largely was due to community support. So we have some additional other neighborhood policies in the city, including the streetlight program, the neighborhood sidewalk program, and so we wanted to just show you again the neighborhood approvals that we use for those comparative programs, how much the city is willing to share those initiatives, and then what our current available budgets are in fiscal year 26. So with that, I'm going to return to Marty.
Thank you, Kristen. All right, so with that said, get to the right place here. All right, so the first recommendation that I bring before you tonight, clarify the process for conducting a traffic study. So as it stands today, a single resident in a neighborhood can request a traffic study. And to that end, we perform that traffic study. So in the interest of clarifying and refining policy, we'd like to suggest a minimum threshold of at least 2 non-related residents within a neighborhood request a traffic study when requested, or where there's an HOA that is in the business of making decisions for the neighborhood, that this study is requested by the HOA. So that's the first question on the table. Can we at least establish a threshold we propose? It's unclear, it's not written in the policy right now, that at least there are 2 in a neighborhood requesting a study or the HOA.
So Marty, how much does a traffic study, conducting one, cost? So is there a cost with this? I mean, obviously there is, even if it's just staff time.
There's staff time, plus there's the time and effort, Councilwoman, associated with traffic counts, speed studies associated with that. Some of those things we could potentially perform in-house. We have some gear for that. But even that then invites further staff or contractor, or street contractors, time and commitment to perform those studies, to perform those traffic and speed studies that are associated with that work.
But there's no ballpark number, like
Kristen,
order of
if you
magnitude. I'm just curious, is this like $2,000 or is it like $25,000? I mean,
Without considering the staff time and effort that we go through in terms of the study, we've had probably a study as much as $7,500 just to collect the data alone without any staff time. And it really depends on the complexity of the study and the things that we're trying to answer. But generally somewhere around $2,000 to $5,000 just for the data collection.
And then consider as well in that other services, duties that we may be asking our staff traffic engineers to perform that aren't being performed while the traffic studies are being conducted. So with that, and I could recommend, if you would, are you comfortable with me polling you as we address each of these questions, or would you rather an end of it?
Let's go ahead and poll.
All right. With that, all in.
I have a question before we go and vote
Yes, sir.
here. So what you're proposing is if there's an HOA, the HOA formally has to request this. If there is no HOA, at least two people on this
Yes,
street.
at least two.
Okay. Unrelated.
As in not in the same household.
So is there any, is it a percentage of the people on the street? Is that another way of doing this?
We could consider that as well. We'd suggest just a simple threshold of at least more than one.
Okay, well, I agree with
Yes,
more
sir.
than one. I'm just trying to figure out,
Yes, sir.
is there another way of doing this? But I agree. If there's an HOA involved, the HOA has to request it. And if you think two is enough to make that reasonable, I guess that's fine.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Baumann.
How many traffic studies do we do a year?
3 to 5.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 5. We however, completed in the past month 3 studies. So that number can range. It can go upwards at 6 or 7. We've had.
In the summary in the first 3 slides.
Yeah, I
show
can go
how
back to
many
that.
Studies that we had from 2020 on per year.
So you're saying 6 to 7 a year?
So
In
there were
some
3
years.
This year, yep.
Yep.
2 last year, 2 the year before.
2.
There were 5 in 2022, 3 in 2021, and quite a few in 2020.
So do you think that's too many? I mean, you're polling us because you think it's too many?
So to explain that a little bit about one individual.
Can you go
we
to the
have-
mic?
Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead,
Excuse me.
Kristen.
So we have found that, and we all live in neighborhoods, correct? That we have that one person who's upset with their neighborhood's teen driver. And so they're, on behalf of, say, their neighborhood of 500 homes, deciding to complain to the city, and that's prompting a traffic calming study. And we are doing that, but perhaps because we have a process that includes neighborhood support for moving forward, that our experience has been that when it's just one individual and they haven't had any conversation with their neighbors about a problem, that it's unlikely to move forward to the next stage of actually getting support, right? It could be just the one person complaining. They've never talked to anybody. Everyone else is fine. We are
How
going
often
to
does that happen? If we only had 3, or if we have 3 to 5 a year, is that usually the person?
One of the 3 studies this year was the Crest Valley Drive study was initiated by one individual.
Mr. Baumann.
I'm happy to go through this, but we're just sort of picking at the edges here. There's a fundamental question, policy question, of how far do we want to go to reduce speeding in this city on our neighborhood streets. I think to go off what the current numbers are is a little skewed because people have sort of grown frustrated, or they just think it's maybe it's what you suggest, Kristen, but I suspect there's a lot of speeding, and we're going through a period of time where maybe we're hearing from an unusually large number of residents. So let's leave it at that. And I'm hearing about speeding everywhere, and there's some frustration with how do we get it off our streets. And we've established a policy of 0 fatalities. John, when?
1940, I think.
Whatever, 20, whatever.
2040.
So we have to make a fundamental policy decision as to whether we as a city want to reduce speeding. I mean, we just had that conversation. The answer should be generally yes, if the result of that speeding is leading to injuries and crashes and fear in neighbors. I mean, we have situations like Old Powers Ferry Road, and we had this on Glen Arrow, where they're afraid to go to their mailbox. And we're seeing, forget volumes of 300, we're seeing volumes of 3,000 on streets that were built as country roads originally. So we were going back and reconfiguring roads that were built for completely different purposes originally, but that now are being used for modern uses. I think we should go through this. I get it, but I think it's putting off. The real discussion we need to have is, when is the city going to initiate traffic calming? And what are the factors? We talked about this in June. What are the data points at which, yeah, we should be doing something, and whether the neighbors are asking or not, it's our duty in the general health, safety, and welfare of our city to be trying to improve these conditions. I mean, we do a lot of wants in this city, but this seems to be a need. And I think until we modify this, I'm good with doing this, but we need to really ask, what are our policy objectives, and how are we going to best be able to do that? Because once we make it easier and we start removing obstacles, we're going to hear a lot more people that are interested, as they should be, and they're not going to want traffic humps. They're going to want the chicane. I mean, that's one of the reasons people don't want to do these things. They don't want the traffic humps. They're going to want the chicanes that are in Mount Vernon Woods, right? You have those chicanes. And they're going to want mini roundabouts, and I see down here you're pulling those out. Are we going to take it seriously or not? Are we going to try to slow speeding? Are we going to try to improve the safety of our neighborhood streets to genuinely meet the promise of protected neighborhoods? That's what I would like to do. So I'm okay with going all of this. I'm a yes, I'm a yes, I'm a yes, I'm a yes, but we need to go back to the drawing board and say, what is our real goal here? And what does the data tell us that we can, what are our actual conditions? Then eventually what we're going to do, and I have a prediction, we're going to score these projects just because we're going to need millions of dollars if you start doing chicanes. If you believe, as I do, that there's speeding everywhere across this city, that we're going to end up wanting, and we decide to prioritize it, we're going to need millions of dollars. We may need to put in a T-SPLOST, and we're going to need to score these projects like we score paving intersections and sidewalks. And that's what we're going to need to do. But I'm a yes on all of these. I mean, you can up it. If one is a real problem, I assume council members are going to be able to be the one and initiate it because they're hearing from people. And I'd like to see a situation where you are initiating it, where Public Works is saying, hey, there's a problem, and this is what we're going to do about it, and then take the neighborhood out of it in the sense that it's not an optional thing. Mr. Lee talked about this earlier. Why are we giving a vote to neighbors on something that we are deeming a safety issue? Is it just aesthetics, or is it just a want, and we don't really need it? Well, if we don't really need it, we need to say that. But if it's something we need, I agree with Mr. Lee. I don't want to mischaracterize what you said, Dan, but I think that's what you said. We shouldn't be voting on this, and we should be paying for it. So I've said my piece. I think this is a bigger policy issue, and I think we're going to need to devote more time and funds to it. But I'm all for starting to remove obstacles, and I bet dollars to donuts that you're going to see more neighborhoods interested when we do that.
And the flip side of that, Councilman Baumann, if I could add, is the last item we have on the matrix. Carolina, if you'll go forward, how does council want to handle those situations where they don't meet the criteria? There is no documented speeding. It's a perception issue. And are you comfortable allowing that neighborhood to move forward even though they don't meet the criteria? Meaning they'd have to do it at their expense, but the city would be expected to maintain it.
I'll wait till we get to that line item.
Okay.
Mayor Paul?
Mr. Paulson.
So, Andy, you bring up an interesting concept here. There's got to be a point at which our public works people and our staff people and our sergeants, our police, there's got to be a criteria where you need to come to us and say, we got a problem on this street, this needs to be fixed. And as soon as you do that and bring that to us, then I think the city should pay to do that fix, because it's a safety issue.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't know how that works with a neighborhood wanting or not wanting it.
Now,
So can you
Kristen, let
clarify
me-
how that works?
Let me
Marty?
offer clarification. So as a companion or a support to the Safe Streets Safety Action Plan, we did, through a robust data collection and survey, prepare the high injury network for the city of Sandy Springs and identified those street segments and intersections across the city that demonstrated the greatest need via vulnerable user accidents, traffic accidents overall, property damage, et cetera. So our primary place we look to see where's the problem, where do we best attack and reduce numbers of accidents, fatalities, injuries, is via that high injury network that was created by virtue of that study. So that's where we go, and as a primary source to seek proposed projects in the future to attack that goal again, 2040 goal of, yes, sir.
Those are the first list we work through, because there's objective data that says this is a problem we as a city need to fix.
Yes, sir.
And so that's the first one for me. I'm not too sure how that factors into a neighborhood deciding that they have too much speeding, but there's not data to support it. One of them is objective. I can see spending the money, let's fix the problem, let's make it safer. It gets complicated when we get into what neighborhoods want or not want if there's no justification for it.
I have one more question.
Ms. Rochelle.
So I've asked you several times about Williamson and Cherry Tree, and it's not on here. Is that a different study, or I don't see it on here?
Those studies were intersection evaluations and not a traffic
So
calming.
this is just traffic calming
This is
in the
just under the
neighborhoods?
neighborhood, yeah, traffic
Okay.
calming policy. Yeah, thanks for the question.
All right, so we want to update the administrative procedures for neighborhood participation from 1 to 2. All right, maybe more if we need it. All right, let's go to the next one.
All right, clarify the entity responsible for maintenance. So right now, that's unsaid in our traffic calming policy. There we go, thank you. The city, by process, by practice, has maintained the traffic calming once installed. So we'd just like to codify and clarify that in traffic calming policy, that moving forward, as these installations take place, maintenance is provided by the city. And that's included removal as we pave, whatever the case might be, and then reinstallation of the traffic calming devices. So with that, we recommend an update to the policy that clarifies that the city maintains once installed.
Any objections? All right, proceed.
All right, on the next recommendation, most municipalities, as you saw from the jurisdictional poll that Kristen had prepared, the 85th percentile speed threshold required to qualify for traffic calming, measure that from 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit, as opposed to what our policy currently states, which is 8 miles per hour over the current posted speed limit. And you saw that same logic, state law, when you enforce, applied with the speed zone cameras we just talked about a moment ago. So what that recommendation would be, set the 85th percentile measure at 10 miles per hour over.
Any objection?
Is there a public works answer for that? I mean, what's the prudent? I mean, is this something that uneducated elected officials should be deciding, or what is the standard of
a national
care?
standard for measuring speeding, or is the 85th percentile, and then along with that, the logic of 10 miles per hour over the speed limit is the enforced speed in Georgia. Would be the two logics we would merge.
And I guess it could be
solution.
subject to exceptions based on things that happen.
Yes, sir. But it's those two logics pushed together.
I don't know.
Any objection? So ordered.
All right, the next proposal, remove dead-end streets from eligibility. If traffic calming is about,
It's only about logical.
say again,
That's only logical.
it's
Where are you gonna-
it's an us thing. So,
And you know it's somebody on that street.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Or a visitor, or somebody who's lost.
Or service, or whoever on that street, please.
Any objection? Proceed.
Next recommendation, remove the very low volume streets, those streets that have less than 300 vehicles per day, from eligibility for traffic calming.
Any objection? So ordered.
All right, Councilman Ballman, to the question and concern, remove those passive traffic calming treatments from the list of recommended measures, i.e. roadway pavement markings. We accomplished that when we repave. And as you recollect on, I believe it was Glen Arrow, we restriped when we repave. That's the prudent time to do it so that you don't enter in eradication, et cetera, to modify lines with the repaving project, or radar speed feedback signs on those low volume and relatively low speed roadways. Reserve those for the higher speed and higher volume roadways.
Remove radar speed feedback signs. I mean, you and I just had this conversation about Roberts Drive.
Well,
and I'm thinking you should add one or two more to that one.
Now,
How
for
does that
instance,
count?
on Roberts Drive, those were not installed via the traffic calming program. Those were installed independently based on staff research, assessment of speeds on the road. That road, that section of Roberts, for instance, is not eligible for, because of the speed limit there and speeds and volumes on the roadway, for traffic calming measures like speed humps, speed tables, et cetera.
But you're not going to remove these signs that we already have up there?
No, sir. No. They're more so appropriately place them on the roads where the traffic is of a character that's appropriate for radar speed feedback signs.
You may have said this, but is the road, the pavement markings, would that include the box?
This is exclusively to that striping, or striping particularly. And one of the methods we've used in the interest of encouraging drivers to better behave on some of the roadways is, as opposed to a lot of our older roadways that haven't been, or roadways that haven't been repaved in a while, like since we've incorporated, and that number gets fewer and fewer every year, they were striped, at least edge striped, out to 12-foot travel lanes. As we've progressed through the repaving program, and in the interest of creating some available shoulder, we've restriped many of these roadways now to 11 feet on lane widths. That we've implemented a standard of 11, and in some cases, based on traffic, et cetera, we've even gone to 10 feet on some of the roadways here. In the interest of encouraging, confining the roadway and encouraging drivers to move more slowly through those compressed roadways.
So why do we want to remove these options from your?
Remove them from the traffic calming approach. Instead, address those more appropriately when we do other works. For instance, stripe to 11. If the roadway shoulder is striped already, we'll stripe to 11 as we repave, as a standard practice, which we do as we repave roadways now.
Okay.
Any objection? So ordered.
All right. Now, on active traffic calming treatments, here particularly many roundabouts and chicanes are discussed as a staff recommendation on removing those from traffic calming. Those devices, to properly perform, need right-of-way, and they need reconstruction of a roadway to implement. Significant, and I don't have price history because we have not constructed any of these things on any neighborhood streets. The only places we've installed or are installing many roundabouts that are on higher volume roadways right now where we've had intersection challenges. For instance, the mini roundabout currently in design to be constructed at the intersection of Allen and Lake Forest. So we don't have cost history there. We know from the cost history with the roundabouts we have constructed and are constructing that they cost, in some cases, a relatively significant amount. It's around $1 million or so, 600 plus, on the mini roundabout Lake Forest at Allen. And they're a little more land intensive than maybe some of the neighborhoods can tolerate. So we don't have a history to date of installing these kinds of devices on neighborhood streets, which is what this program was crafted for. So a challenge there with not having a good history on it. And Councilman, I don't disagree with you on the fact that maybe roadways do need to be reconstructed, but it is very much so a significant commitment, both on the neighborhood's part and the city's part, to pursue measures like that.
Neighborhoods aren't going to do this.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty clear. But once we remove, and I know why you want to do this, because once we remove the neighborhood share, which they can barely get people to agree to for speed humps,
right.
And if we start reducing or eliminating the signature requirement, then of course this is what's going to come up. I mean, that's going to be, you can put this on your list of treatments. I get it. It is expensive, but we have to decide, again, this may be down the road,
Right.
if we are serious about long-term improvements to neighborhood traffic calming, then this is the kind of thing that we're going to have to score and do over a period of many years. And I don't, maybe traffic safety or traffic under congestion or other things, this would qualify for a tier 1 T-SPLOST allocation in the future of X millions of dollars, but you're going to have to score. I mean, I can tell you how we're going to do this. We're going to have to score these projects. Clearly, we can't have neighborhoods just asking for these, but these would have to be based on, professional public works engineering data that says, yeah, that's the long-term fix for this, for the modern use of this road.
And very likely we'd probably look for that coincidence of a street that appeared on the high injury network and a traffic calming room.
Well, those certainly would go first.
To help drive, something like that. So with that.
So, quick question.
Yes, sir.
I think these things are effective. I don't want to eliminate them. So we're not eliminating them. You're eliminating them from an option for the current neighborhood traffic calming policy because of the cost being so prohibitive. It doesn't get elected, doesn't get picked anyway. Right. But we're not eliminating them from the potential usage.
Once they have to stop paying, and if that's on the list of options, that's what they're going to want.
But don't you think that do the speed cushions, or do they offer the same result as a chicane and a roundabout? Because we have chicanes in our neighborhood, like Andy said, and I mean, I think a lot of people just don't like them, and they would probably prefer the speed humps, but we already have those. So.
Right. So in the case of the speed humps, Kristen and her staff have found, and you can certainly speak for yourself anytime you like, Kristen, but that for cost effectiveness, regardless of who expends the money, the speed humps have been far more effective than pretty much any other device that we've seen. They, relatively low cost to install, relatively low cost to maintain, and they still require the traffic to slow down in order to navigate the speed hump in the neighborhood.
Well, another consideration is public safety access. Chicanes, many roundabouts slow our own first responders as well. Whereas the speed humps, at least for the fire trucks, they've got the ability, in most cases, not all, but to straddle those and continue on at speed. So in addition to that, we have to look at the public safety implications of some of these issues as well.
Yes,
I think speed humps are probably, and I'd look for the chiefs to respond, speed humps probably would be preferable to the fire department if they're properly constructed as opposed to chicanes and many roundabouts. Would that be an accurate statement, Chief? Okay. So this would actually assist in, by removing these as an option, it would assist in improving first responder response as well.
Yes.
So, yeah. Without objection, So ordered.
All right. Thank you. All right. This next item, update administrative procedures for neighborhood participation, speaks to more so that final word in that text string there, participation. So, and it's more so on us to clarify and institutionalize, codify the way in which monies are received from the neighborhood where neighborhood participation is still received. And that has to do with an accounting. That's something we need to clarify and codify within the policy with our finance department. Here's how the money should come in. Is it a fair share thing? Who do they send the monies to? How are the monies held in order to implement traffic calming for the neighborhood? That's really the intention of this, more so than anything else, is we solidify the process for those that are considering participating with money.
Ms. Mueller?
So how does this work then today, Marty? So is it just sort of, I don't want to say random, but is it different every time? Because it sounds like there's not a set process for how this would work.
We collect
today.
monies. Those monies are collected by the community. All right. Kristen, go ahead.
Well,
You've got it.
It has been left to the neighborhoods how they would like to do that collection. And then once we have completed the project, we have given them an estimate up front of here's what we need to collect. And then finance bills them at the end when we're completed with the project. But, you know, some neighborhoods are like, well, we would like to each send in our own check, right? So maybe money needs to be pooled. There needs to be an escrow held until the project's complete, sort of thing. And another option, if this is the direction that the city would continue to go, other communities for improvements such as this that are very localized, that they actually create, and this is something the city could consider, like a tax improvement zone. You know, you can create your own neighborhood improvement zone. Cobb County does it for like sidewalks, for example, within neighborhoods.
I think some in DeKalb do that maybe.
In DeKalb
too.
County, and they actually, where they had previously, DeKalb County put in traffic calming, there is a fee for everyone within that area of impact forever on that property to help pay for maintenance. So that offsets that cost of both the implementation and the maintenance cost. So,
Have we ever had a situation where we've done and implemented the traffic calming and then went to collect and couldn't collect?
no.
Okay, so everybody's at least paid their bills?
Not since I've administered.
Okay.
Should we vote on the neighborhood participation before we do this? Because
Well, this is about the payment, right?
Well, it's
But
about
if-
payment, if payment continues. Separate question. This is about clarifying payments, if there are still payments in the future. This recommendation could be nullified based on how you vote on the next one, or that other item, though, council member.
I think we need to eliminate neighborhood. Is that where we are now, the neighborhood payment piece?
The neighborhood payment piece is in this list.
that's what I'm saying. If we eliminate the
It's-
neighborhood payment piece, then we won't.
Well, the participation
The
is going to
neighborhood
go
petition-
away.
Yeah, the
I
neighborhood.
mean, there may be
petition-
people say, I don't want speed humps, but it's going to be fewer because they don't want to pay. But also, the payment's it's not equitable. I mean, you have neighborhoods that might want this, but they just financially can't afford it. I mean,
Right.
we need to be removing this.
So, Mayor Paul, I got a question here.
Mr. Paulson?
If we eliminate the neighborhood participation, then every neighborhood wants some of this stuff. How do we decide which ones warrant it and which ones don't warrant it?
And we've
This
got
goes
a-
back to the same thing we've
We
been
have a
talking about
proposal
earlier.
for you for that at the very end of this presentation as well. So, and it's
Okay.
just, as Councilman Baumann alluded to, it's a scoring methodology. We create a scoring matrix for which are most eligible, which are least eligible, based on need, severity of traffic calming need. And we'll go to that.
How much have we actually charged neighborhoods for any of these projects in the past?
So
In dollars?
if you see total cost against those neighborhood improvements that are done, that's a 50-50 share.
I
And
understand that, but how much have we actually billed the neighborhood? We billed them $1,500 or $15,000 or $150,000?
it has depended on the amount of installation they purchased. So for each of those installations you see based on our policy since 2020, 50% of that installation cost has been borne by the neighborhood.
That doesn't answer my question. Speed bump cost.
What's a speed bump cost? Okay. So, for instance, let's go to there you go. So, Jet Road, 2 sets of speed cushions were installed. Total cost of $19,800. Half of that cost, $10,000, went to the neighborhood.
And how much is maintenance?
I think we have a slide for that, too. How much have we expended in maintenance, maybe is a better, if I could reframe the question.
Mm-hmm.
So these replacement projects, this being maintenance, where we had to replace a speed hump, maybe it's due to a repaving effort, whatever the case was, here's what it cost the city as we repaved, removed speed humps, and then reinstall them.
Would you go back to the previous?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's just take Jet Road for there. That's divided, $10,000 divided among how many homes?
10 or 12 homes participated in that. But the neighborhoods really have taken the lead on how they collect that money. It's not assessed evenly across the area of impact. It's a pass-the-hat donation.
So in this case, this was not an HOA.
No.
This was a collection of neighbors, and they agreed to raise the money among themselves to participate.
I just, we've always prided Sandy Springs as being an affluent neighborhood. I just find it hard to believe that a neighbor who wants something like this can't come up with their share to finance it.
I can't disagree more.
You can't disagree more?
No, you can't judge a book by its cover. There are a lot of people live on fixed incomes. They live there. They've seen their taxes go up, inflation eat away at their savings. We should not be counting other people's money, and this is a policy for the whole city where you have neighborhoods where, they're not living in mansions that are assessed at $4 million. I mean, we have to, we need to, if there's a demonstrated need for safety to slow traffic down, and I can tell you, I've seen it on Jet Road. It's like a speedway at times. I mean, some of it may not be your overall stats, but you have people that use that for raceway, that the city needs to step in and handle this. This is not, this is a need and a basic public service that we should be providing.
I agree with that. I've not done a lot of doors recently, and not everybody is wealthy like you think, and I agree.
Well, I just think it's awful easy to request money, other people's money, to solve your problem.
Well, they still have to pass the tests.
These are our problems, and these are going to be roads that are demonstrated to have speeding on them. This is the most basic. This is the most basic public duty we have, is keeping our. And we talk about protected neighborhoods. This is lip service if we don't take care of this.
Kristen just showed us the results of most of the studies that were done, and when she showed us results of most of the studies that was done, it says it wasn't warranted based upon
Speeds.
You went too far.
Right here, this is whether the,
No, go back.
But it was warranted at Jet Road, wasn't it, Kristen?
it was.
All right, it was warranted at Jet Road. I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's the premise of this discussion, is that this work is warranted.
So of the 2 studies last year that were conducted, Dupree and Riverview, only Dupree actually met the speeds and had the characteristics.
The ones that were done last year, not any of the 3 of them, none of them met the criteria.
Correct, the ones we just.
Yeah, it's just we're traveling at or near post. Study showed most vehicles are traveling at or near most of post vehicles. I mean, we hear this constantly from people saying, my street is a raceway. And then when we send the police out there and they do the calculations on there, they find out that that's not the, it's just perception is different than reality.
Yeah, but you just talked about Jet Road. Kristen, let me ask you again. Did it qualify?
It did.
It qualified.
Some streets do and some
We're talking
don't, but
about,
we're using the
I think
same
what we're talking
criteria.
about are roads that qualify. Am I misunderstanding this? That's what we're talking about to start here. Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to be here all night if we don't hurry up this pace. So we need to get some decisions made. Mr. Paulson, yeah.
Here, Paul, one of the fundamentals we keep talking about here is if something qualifies in order to improve the safety, I've heard this from Councilman Baumann and myself and some others, if it qualifies, there's a need to improve the safety, it should be the city's responsibility. The flip side of that is if it doesn't qualify, I'm not too sure I want to spend city's money to accommodate some neighbor that thinks he should have this but doesn't hit any of their criteria.
If it doesn't
So
qualify,
before we
we're
talk
not
about
paying.
neighborhood stuff, can we go back to the policy?
Mr. Paulson has the floor.
Let's go back and revisit and scrutinize the policy by which staff decides, yes, this is needed, or no, this is not needed. And I'd rather spend the time looking at that because as far as I'm concerned, if something is needed, we should do it. And if something is not needed, I don't want to spend city money.
All right.
Maybe that's too black and white, but
Well, let me see if I can clarify what I'm hearing and see if, and I think that what I hear is an emerging consensus is to do this based on data rather than individual input and participation. That we should do this on using empirical data. We should rank the streets in some sort of order, similar to the way we do sidewalks and streets. The city should pay for whatever that cost is, and then the council controls that through the budgeting process. Is that what I'm hearing? Yes. All right. So ordered. We can shorten this thing. That's all right. Marty, do you need any other direction than that?
We need to talk about the 75%, 75, 25, right?
No, we're not going
We're not
to.
gonna-
They will
we're
not be
not gonna
involved
do that
anymore.
tonight.
Nope,
Okay.
none of that. One other issue.
Right.
One other issue that's not on this that I would request that we take a look at. With all the work being done on 285, people are moving through our neighborhood streets in massive numbers. Included, I have seen, at least on Herds Ferry and some of the other streets that are parallel to 285, a large number of trucks getting off and going through our neighborhood streets that are not designed to handle those. So I would like us to take up the issue of defining what our truck routes are and prohibiting them on residential streets with the exception of if you're making a local delivery. We need to take a look at what streets are available for use by heavy trucks. I'm sure Roswell Road, 285, 400 would be at minimum. I'm not sure there are any more beyond that, but I would ask staff to take a look at and the staff to bring back some ordinance defining truck routes in the city so that we don't have to have our streets torn up and our neighborhoods threatened by large trucks that they're not designed to handle. All right.
Well, I have one more. So I just want to understand. You're gonna we're gonna look at the policy, but if it's recommended that the traffic calming is warranted, then they don't have to get the signatures anymore?
That would
or
be
that's
correct.
what you're going to look at and
No, that would
come
be
back to us?
correct. It would be
Okay.
done only on empirical data. Staff would rate each street and list them in order. And just like we do a lot of our other projects, we go down until we run out of money and they stop.
And what about the ones that have already been approved then? Are we going to go forward with these? And
If you're changing policy, they will be affected. Unless you decide to grandfather them. That's true.
So tonight we've discussed a participation threshold, at least 2 on the neighborhood need to request that.
Right.
Or the HOA,
Right.
request a study. So that would still be in place. Else we have another mechanism to figure out regarding how to assess all neighborhood streets.
Right.
So I would suggest that we maintain that element up front to conduct a traffic study in the first place.
Okay, we're fine with that. Now, let me clarify the position we're in. None of this is official. This is advisory. The only way that this becomes official is once they bring back an ordinance with that information that we vote on. So this is not official policy yet until an ordinance is brought back and you have the opportunity to vote on it. Are we clear? Okay. Thank you.
I do.
They will.
I have a question about the ones that have already been approved, though. We're going to wait until we come back with an ordinance right now?
Nothing has changed until an ordinance passed. Okay. Any council discussion items that we need to bring forward? All right, we'll close the work session. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the City of Sandy Springs City Council for Tuesday, October the 7th, 2025. Will the city clerk please make the general announcements and call the roll?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just to remind everybody in attendance to continue to silence all cell phones and other electronic devices at this time. Individuals who would like to provide public comment at a City Council meeting are required to complete and submit those public comment cards in advance of the meeting. Those providing public comment may be allotted up to 3 minutes to speak on their single chosen topic. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Rusty Paul.
Present.
Councilmember John Paulson. Councilmember Melody Kelly.
Present.
Councilmember Melissa Mueller.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Rochelle.
Here.
Councilmember Tibby DiGiulio. Andy Bauman.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we may have two in the House tonight. The first is Joan Patillo.
Ms. Patillo.
Okay. And then we have Mr. Kirk Halpern.
Mr. Halpern.
Yep, please.
Mayor and council, at the last meeting, a discussion emerged about holy innocents. And one of the comments that came from the end from most of you was, boy, I'd sure would like to know how this test goes. So I, as an individual, only as an individual that shares an adjacent property line with holy innocents, I'd like to kind of give you my perspective. First, the traffic control by SSPD was phenomenal. Sandy Springs Police Department, don't know if they were on duty, off duty, it was perfect. It was phenomenal. Second, while communication from holy innocents prior to this meeting was not what I would have liked to have seen, I would share with you that after this meeting, due to, in part, neighborhood insistence, we were able to have some very good communication with holy innocents, and I hope that that will continue going afterwards. Third, the impact of the lights was negligible. In other words, the fact there were lights didn't matter. Fourth, the noise was, from my perspective, horrible. It was horrendous. And it is reasonable for us to believe that as we move later into the months of fall and as leaves come off of the trees, one would tend to think all other things, the noise would be worse. That being said, I believe that holy innocents and the neighborhood could come to some reasonable accommodation in good faith. I think that there could be a consensus that we can build. My ask is and I heard this from a few of you when you spoke, let's make sure that we encourage the neighborhood and the institution to let's kind of mediate it and work it through. And my ask in achieving that is let's distinguish holy innocents in our neighborhood with maybe some of the adversity that was seen in other school issues. And let's just make sure that holy innocents and the neighborhood have the ability to come to a reasonable resolution that we bring to, whether it's whatever the appropriate authority is, and then we can come to some resolution. I'm committed, many of my neighbors are committed to working something out, and I just don't want us all to get shortcutted. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Mr. Halpern, that's the sweetest music to my ear. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any others? All right, is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
I
DiGiulio.
move approval of the meeting agenda for Tuesday, October 7th, 2025.
We have a motion by Mr. DiGiulio. Is there a second? Second. Motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Mr. Paulson. We approve the meeting agenda. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Meeting agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Rochelle.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for October 7th.
We have a motion by Ms. Rochelle to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Mueller. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The consent agenda is approved. Moving to public hearings, the clerk will please read the first item.
This is agenda item number 2025-232. That's ABL number 28123. Consideration of an approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for Katya Inc., doing business as Cafe Istanbul at 8540 Roswell Road, Suite 400, Sandy Springs, Georgia 30350. For consumption on the premises of wine, beer, and distilled spirits. The applicant is Kamal Atek. This is presented by Revenue Manager Corey Holiness.
Ms. Holiness.
Good evening, Mayor Paul and City Council. This is a new alcohol license for District 2. This is a new alcohol license for consumption on the premises of wine, malt beverage, and distilled spirits. Cantia DBA Cafe Istanbul, 8540 Roswell Road, Suite 400, Sandy Springs, Georgia 30350. The applicant, Kamal Atek, has met all requirements, and staff recommends approval.
Have we received any public comment cards? We'll close the public hearing. You've heard the report of the revenue manager. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Kelly, Dr. Kelly.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-232. Approval of an alcohol beverage license application for Katia Inc., doing business as Cafe Istanbul at 8540 Roswell Road, Suite 400.
We have a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Kelly, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we approve agenda item 2025-232, an alcoholic beverage license application for Katia Inc., doing business as Cafe Istanbul at 8540 Roswell Road. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-232, approving the alcoholic beverage license application for Cafe Istanbul. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to new business, clerk, please read the first item.
This is agenda item number 2025-233. Consideration of a resolution to declare a surplus certain property owned by the city and directing disposal of the same. This is presented by Purchasing Director Connie Donnelly.
Ms. Donnelly.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here today for your approval for the disposal of surplus items from two of our city departments, Human Resources and Information Technology, otherwise known as IT. The Human Resource Department has identified 5 Fire King filing cabinets that are no longer needed. All of the cabinets are still in good condition, but are no longer useful to the department due to our transition toward digital records. To ensure we manage city property responsibly, these items are recommended to be recycled. The Information Technology Department has identified about 100 pieces of equipment that are outdated, including network devices, laptops, and mobile workstations. These items will be offered for sale on a platform called GovDeals, which is an online auction site that allows governments or public municipalities to resell surplus items to the public and recover some value. By recycling items we cannot use and reselling those with value, we ensure that city property is managed responsibly, storage space is cleared, and taxpayer dollars are used wisely. We recommend approval to proceed with their removal, which will help us manage resources more effectively and responsibly. Thank you for your consideration.
You've heard the report of the purchasing director. What's the desire of council? Mr. Paulson.
Second. I move approval of agenda item 2025-233, resolution to declare as surplus certain property owned by the city and directing disposal of same.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? We have a motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Mueller, that we approve agenda item 2025-233, declaring surplus certain property owned by the city and directing disposal of the same. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul,
Mr. Paulson.
your first point, you're talking about these file cabinets. Are we selling those as well?
We recommend recycling the filing cabinets, but first we needed to get the item surplus or deemed as surplus, which is what we're doing today. And then once we get the approval from you guys, we'll figure out a way to dispose of these items that's most advantageous. It has been recommended by the department to recycle these items.
Okay, well, if we can sell them, I'd rather we sell them.
Okay.
If you can't sell them, recycle them.
Definitely.
Fair enough? Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-233, a resolution declaring surplus certain property owned by the city. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2025-234, consideration of a resolution to authorize the donation of surplus training vehicles to the Atlanta Police Foundation. This is presented by Sandy Springs Police Department Captain Andrew Spears.
Captain Spears.
Whoop. We have a surprise visitor.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm Ryan Finley.
I'm
in
sorry.
For Captain Spears. I'll be very brief. The Sandy Springs Police Department recommends or requests your approval of donating these surplus training vehicles to the Atlanta Police Foundation. We have 8 vehicles that were pulled out of service several years ago. They had reached the end of their patrol service life and then became training vehicles we used for pit instruction and training. Those vehicles are now at a point where it is going to cost more to maintain them than to have them, and so we are requesting that they be donated to the Atlanta Police Foundation, who in turn will give those vehicles to the Atlanta Police Department. The Atlanta Police Department has just completed and opened up their training facility and has a vehicle operations track there that also is open to us through the relationship that Chief DeSimone has built. Those vehicles and the track will be available to us in the future, and this would be, I think, a good action if we were able to give them these vehicles.
Okay. You've heard the report of Mr. Finley. What's the desire of council? Mr. DiGiulio. We have a motion by Mr. DiGiulio. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Ms. Rochelle, that we approve agenda item 2025-234, authorizing the donation of surplus training vehicles to the Atlanta Police Foundation. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-234, the resolution authorizing donation of surplus training vehicles. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-235, consideration of a resolution to approve the pre-application for funding for the Georgia Department of Natural Resources FY 2025 through FY 2026 Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program, and to authorize the city manager to execute the grant award agreement. Presented by Director of Recreation and Park, Brent Walker.
Mr. Walker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In 2018, the Georgia General Assembly established the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program Act to provide dedicated funding mechanism to support parks and trails and to protect and acquire lands critical to wildlife, clean water, and outdoor recreation across the state of Georgia. This is administered by the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. The applicants can request a maximum amount of $3 million, which we have received one of these grants previously for Trail 2A. It is a 25% match required. The initial application is due October 17th. If selected, there's a second level application that opens in spring of 26, and the final award is announced in summer of 26. As y'all are aware, we are already in construction of Section 2 of the Springway. We've completed Section 2A. 2C is a continuation of that trail from Morgan Falls Overlook Park over to Grogan's Ferry, and then eventually out to Roswell Road. The conceptual design is underway. Final design is expected in Q4 of this year. Segment 2C, as I mentioned, will go from Overlook Park to Grogan's Ferry, with a most recent cost estimate of $13,664,300. Requesting permission to pursue the GOSOP grant with a funding match of $10,664,300. This local match includes contributions from the Path Foundation in the amount of $1 million and $30,000 from the Sandy Springs Conservancy, contingent upon receiving the award, as well as $5 million, wish we had 500, $5 million available in capital project P0028. The remaining funding of $4,634,300 will need to be dedicated or identified in future budget cycles. This is just a more in-depth view or closer view over an aerial of that section of trail. It connects directly to where 2A begins, right at the three-way intersection at the bottom of the hill at the entrance of the park, goes around the paddle shack, and then continues along the shore of Bull Sluice, and then up through the wood line behind the apartment complexes, and then around to Grogan's Ferry. It's about 1.6 miles. With that, I'll request and recommend that we apply for the GOSOP grant for Section 2C.
You've heard the report of the Director of Recreation and Parks. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul,
Dr. Kelly.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-235, approval of the pre-application for funding for the Georgia Department of Natural Resources Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program, and to authorize the city manager to execute the grant award agreement.
Have a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paulson. Any discussion? Dr. Kelly.
Yep. So the design of 2C, have we concluded working with the neighborhood, Grogan's Bluff?
Not yet. I've
Okay.
had one meeting with the neighbors at the clubhouse over there and listened to their concerns. I've then taken that back to our design firm. They're currently working up some alterations to the center line and some potential solutions to some of those concerns of security and buffering of the trail. I have another meeting scheduled with the HOA president and some of the neighbors on October 16th. So I'll be taking those redesign ideas to them to see if that helps.
Okay.
Kind of.
So we're still working through some of
That's
the
correct.
design. So I want to just make sure I understand. We're asking for the 10 million?
We can
We're
ask up
requesting?
to 3.
Oh, we're asking
Yeah,
up
that's
to
the
3.
maximum. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-235, resolution approving the pre-application for funding of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources FY 2025-26 Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-236, consideration of an ordinance to approve the FY 2025 and FY 2026 budget amendments to recognize early receipt of LRA grant. This is presented by Budget Manager Michael Heater.
Mr. Heater.
Good evening, Steve, Mayor, and Council. I'll be presenting two budget amendments. The first is a pair. Basically, we, if you remember, a couple of months ago, we applied for a kind of a bonus paving grant. We weren't sure when it was going to get it. We were pretty sure we were going to get it. We weren't sure when. But we knew it was going to be spent in this fiscal year, so we included it in the fiscal year 26 budget. However, as luck would have it, we received the grant from the state early. This kind of puts our budget out of balance for fiscal year 25. So we just have a budget amendment to recognize the receipt of it in the budget in fiscal year 25, increasing the revenues and the expenses associated with that. Because this is a capital fund that carries forward. Because it carries forward, it's already in the 26 budget, so we have to have another budget amendment to pull it out. And those are the two amendments that are in this particular agenda item.
All right, you've heard the report of the budget manager. What's the desire of council? Ms. Rochelle.
I'll move that we approve agenda item 2025-236, consideration of an ordinance to approve FY 2025 and FY 2026 budget amendments to recognize early receipt of LRA grants.
Motion by Ms. Rochelle. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Rochelle, seconded by Ms. Mueller, that we approve agenda item 2025-236, an ordinance approving a FY 25 and FY 26 budget amendment. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2025-236, an ordinance to approve the FY 25 and 26 budget amendments. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-237, consideration of an ordinance to approve an FY 2026 budget amendment to update CDBG program funding. Also presented by Budget Manager Michael Heater.
Mr. Heater.
Hello again. This amendment is just for fiscal year 26, and I have to come do this just because of our system, the way things occur with CDBG program. I do have to present this toward the beginning of each fiscal year. CDBG program is in what we call an annual fund. It's like the general fund, where the appropriations lapse at the end of the year. For the budget book purposes, we have to make certain projections. We use certain conventions that come up with figures that don't get to the real carry forward. Since we're doing capital projects in this fund, which are usually done in a capital project fund, which rolls forward and automatically carries forward the roll forward amounts of the budget. But we're doing this in an annual fund. Our guesses basically are never right. So we have to come in and make this adjustment each year. So most of the adjustment is for just the rollover amounts, which are being adjusted to actual. There's a few substantive adjustments, one of which is the fact that our grant, we also put in our estimated grant for the new fiscal year, and it's usually not, and it never is the exact. We usually put in for $500,000. It's right around that. I think it's about $485,000 this year. So that also has to be reflected as a budget adjustment. And we made some adjustments between our public works staff who are executing the sidewalk programs, which the CDBG program accomplishes, had some shifting of their budget estimates within the 3 active projects that we have right now. So all of that is built into this budget amendment, and I've submitted now for your consideration.
All right, you've heard the report of the budget manager. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-237, approve an FY 2026 budget amendment to update CDBG program funding.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve agenda item 2025-237, an ordinance approving an FY 26 budget amendment for the CDBG program update. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Dr. Kelly.
What are the 3 projects you were just referring to?
The 3 active projects right now that are undergoing are what we call subphase 2, which is Roswell Road sidewalks. We had to split that into two sections. We've completed the first one a couple of years ago. The second one is finally got started. It's waiting on Georgia Power to remove a few power poles before we can finally close it out. But it's almost ready to be done. 2 other, I think there's actually 4 active right now, with one kind of in a holding pattern. In addition to the Roswell Road sidewalks, we have 2 extensions that one at Northwood and one on Long Island that will connect the new Roswell Road sidewalk to existing sidewalks already there, a little bit away from Roswell Road. And then the final one is Hope Road, and that's a major one, and that's the final one that's active.
Okay, so 3 in the south and then the one at Hope Road.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-237, approving an ordinance for an FY 26 budget amendment. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2025-238. Consideration to approve and accept a purchase and sale agreement for the fee simple property rights and interests located in Land Lot 71 of the 17th District of Fulton County, Georgia, and more commonly known as 534 Hammond Drive and 544 Hammond Drive, to authorize the city manager to execute all documentation related to the purchase and for the acceptance of all deeds associated with the transaction as it relates to project number S2193. I have noted on the agenda Public Works Director Marty Martin will present, but actually Dan Lee is presenting this evening, our city attorney.
Mr. Lee.
Mayor and Council, this project, these are the three, counting these two houses, there are three properties that are left in the Hammond Road widening project. And the two I bring to you tonight are owned by the same individual. This negotiation started at $1 million per house. The appraisal that I have attached the compensation summary page is one property is 534 Hammond is appraised back in February at $662,000. 544 Hammond appraised at $640,000. We believe that the change in the value since February plus the cost of litigation warrant the increase of about $60,000 over and above the appraisal amount. We recommend to the council that you allow the sale at $1,363,000.
All right, you've heard the report of the city attorney. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve agenda item 2025-238 to approve and accept the purchase and sale agreement for the fee simple property rights and interests located in Land Lot 71 in the 17th District of Fulton County, Georgia, and more commonly known as 534 Hammond Drive and 544 Hammond Drive, to authorize the city manager to execute all documentation related to the purchase and for the acceptance of all deeds associated with the transaction as it relates to project number S2-193.
I have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second? Motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we approve agenda item 2025-238, approve and accept a purchase and sale agreement for the fee simple property rights and interests located at 534 and 544 Hammond Drives. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-238, approving and accepting a purchase and sale agreement for the fee simple property rights and interests located at 534 and 544 Hammond Drive. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-239, consideration of a resolution to approve the sale of city-owned property located in land lots 93 and 94 of the 17th District of Fulton County, Georgia, and more commonly known as 4804 Kitty Hawk Drive, Sandy Springs, Georgia, to authorize the city manager to execute all closing documents related to the transaction and to authorize the mayor to execute all documentation related to the transfer of title. Presented by City Manager Eden Freeman.
Ms. Freeman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you is to consider ratifying the purchase and sale agreement that was included in your packet to sell the property at 4804 Kitty Hawk Drive. Your council action memo provides a background on this property. In June of 2023, this property first came to our awareness as it was a major marijuana grow house that the Sandy Springs Police Department had identified. The city attorney and our esteemed police department worked together with the court, and the property was declared to be a danger, and it was, through court order, the city was authorized to sell the property. The item before you tonight is to sell it as we have demolished the property and we have been maintaining it since the court order came in, and council ordered this action in March of 2024. The sale is at $650,000. The city will be reimbursed for the expenses that we have had related to this property since it came into our possession, which results in $76,260. The funds will also be distributed by the court between the agencies that worked on the forfeiture of this property. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, you've heard the report of the city manager. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Baumann.
I move adoption of agenda item 2025-239 to approve the sale of property located at, let me get the address exactly right, 4804 Kitty Hawk Drive.
We have a motion by Mr. Baumann. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Baumann, seconded by Mr. DiGiulio, that we approve agenda item 2025-239, the sale of city-owned property located at land lots 93 and 94 of the 17th District of Fulton County, commonly known as 4804 Kitty Hawk Drive, and authorizing city manager to execute all documents. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Baumann.
Just briefly, Eden, Dan, police, this was a whole-of-city effort. This is not our typical property sale. This was the result of an important criminal arrest and action, where, as I recall, there were weapons found, there was money found. It wasn't a fentanyl bust, but it was significant. And you have a lot of neighbors, myself included, who are very grateful for this action and that we've gotten to this point. And we're looking forward to hopefully a new home being built on that property and nice new neighbors moving into the neighborhood.
Any other discussion? Mr. DiGiulio.
Eden, the property, did I understand the property is being sold for $650,000, or did I hear a $700,000 number?
It's being sold for $650,000. We originally listed it higher. However, the parcel has a number of encumbrances upon it. It has a Colonial Pipeline easement that takes up a large percentage of the back portion of the property that is not buildable, which reduced the amount that we could feasibly get for the piece of property. We believe this is a fair and a good sale.
How much will the city actually get out of this?
We haven't calculated that yet, but I can tell you we will be reimbursed specifically for the costs related to the demolition and the maintenance, which is $76,260. That will come off the top, along with the real estate commission fee, which I also want to remark that our realtor had to agree to a lower commission. It is a 3% commission per the court order, so it is not a standard real estate commission. And then the remaining share will go to satisfy the outstanding mortgage, and then it will be distributed to the city and the other parties that were involved, including the Fulton County DA's office.
90% of the city? Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2025-239, approving the sale of city-owned property located at 4804 Kitty Hawk Drive. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk, please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-240. Request for mayor and city council consideration to approve the appropriation of certain property rights and interests located in land lot 94, the 17th district of Fulton County, Georgia, more commonly known as 4684 Roswell Road. That's tax parcel number 17009400020629 through the use of eminent domain as it relates to the Roswell Road Transit and Streetscape Improvement Project. That's project number T0019, presented by City Attorney Dan Lee.
Mr. Lee.
Mayor and Council, staff has worked diligently to try and negotiate with the property owner, Mystic Park LLC, and this property is at Roswell Road. It's right at the gateway to the city, adjacent to the Starbucks, if you know where that is, on the south side of the city. The impasse occurs at our appraisal, which gives $56 a square foot for 539 square feet of $30,000, and the replacement of a sign of almost $9,000. Our appraisal at $39,700. I would point out that these numbers and these percentages are identical to the two properties next door to it, which settled for that amount. So we believe it to be a very accurate appraisal. The property owner has stalled us at $100,000. Staff tells me that they need a November possession date, and I bring it to you tonight to ask for your authority to condemn the property for the sidewalk project.
You've heard the report of the city attorney. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Baumann.
I move adoption of agenda item 2025-240, approval of the appropriation of certain property rights and interests located at 4684 Roswell Road as more thoroughly described in the agenda item.
All right, you have a motion by Mr. Baumann. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Baumann, seconded by Mr. DiGiulio, that we approve agenda item 2025-240, approve the appropriation of certain property rights and interests located at 4684 Roswell Road through the use of eminent domain as it relates to the Roswell Road Transit and Streetscape Project. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2025-240, approving the appropriation of certain property rights and interests located at 4684 Roswell Road through the use of eminent domain. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to reports, a few quick things to update everyone. We had a lunch here with we hosted the Consular Corps of the Metro Atlanta, had about 30 members of the consulate community from around Metro Atlanta. They said it was their largest meeting in several months, and we were able to talk to them about with the upcoming FIFA World Cup activity in the metro area, to talk to them about our facility here, the use of this for any of their activities related to the World Cup, and also make sure that they were aware of Visit Sandy Springs and the ability of that organization to assist them in hotel, restaurant, and other uses. And Mr. Haggett and Mr. Barrios were helping host that, put it together. It was a phenomenal lunch. I've got a lot of very positive feedback from the Consular Corps. Many of them had not been in this facility before and were dutifully impressed. So we had a really, I think, productive meeting. There's been some follow-up. Met with Mr. Barrios today. They're having some follow-up with the Consular Corps, and I think that we may there's some ideas about celebrating the World Cup in Sandy Springs that they're working on. And we'll have a report. The draw will be in December. We'll know at least the first tier of teams that will be playing here. And we have some ideas that we'll bring to council at how we help celebrate that event, and then bring in some tourists as well. Had a meeting, just my first real meeting with the Israeli consulate. Sandy Springs is the only city I know with its own foreign policy, so we've been spending a lot of time on foreign policy lately. Great meeting with the new consul general, so I've met him a couple of times informally, but we had about an hour meeting. As you know, this, as I indicated at the beginning of our meetings tonight, being October 7th, a very meaningful time in Israel and around the world, and for Sandy Springs as well. So it was a good meeting. Many of you, I think all of you, attended the Bluestone Festival, which was great. We had a pretty good crowd. Everything seemed to went well. The music was good. We talked about the gala that's coming up this week, and later in the month of October, we've got the Oktoberfest coming. So those are some highlights of the last couple of weeks since we met. Anybody else got anything?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to make this brief. End of August, I'm in the eastern part of my district, District 1, and it turns out that the two precincts on the far eastern end, they used to vote at a local church down there at Dunwoody Club in Mount Vernon. The church is no longer accepting it being a polling place, so Fulton County shuffled those folks to the Environmental Center on Holcomb Bridge Road. So the people in Sandy Springs are actually not voting for things in Sandy Springs, they're going into Roswell there. So I checked with our city clerk, who checked with Fulton County, and they couldn't find another place in that area for them to vote. So it turns out there used to be a polling place at a church over there that hadn't been a polling place for a while, Dunwoody Community Church. I went over, rang the doorbell, finally got a guy to come out. Long story short, put him together with Fulton County, and they will be the voting place for SSO1 and SSO1A going forward, except it's too close to this election for it to happen and have them vote, these two districts to vote in this church at this time. So they're going to have to still vote in Roswell for mayor and council for Sandy Springs. But at least going forward, they'll be able to vote in their area, their local area. That's what the Dunwoody Community Church is. So it's an interesting observation. I want to bring this up because it turns out there's voting location shuffling going around all through Fulton County. Turns out the number of the schools are no longer going to be a polling place going forward. And I don't know which schools, but this is what I'm hearing from talking to the woman that does this stuff. So it's just a cautionary tale. Don't take for granted that every place you used to vote is the place you're going to vote going forward. This one caught me by surprise. Because I don't vote over there, I didn't realize that it had changed. It actually changed about a year ago. So anyway, I managed to get it back in Sandy Springs going forward, but I suspect this may not be the last time we have a voting location change in the city. We all need to keep our antennas up in case it winds up being someplace where we have to go outside of our city, which is what this one's all about. So anyway, strange story, but that's how it turned out.
Well, thanks for your work on that because it has been a little confusing. Thank you. Anybody else? Any staff reports? Dr. Kelly.
Actually, listening to Councilman Paulson, I have a question. Is a list of the locations where people will be expected to vote by precinct readily available, either through us or through Fulton County?
I believe it's published on Fulton County's
Okay,
website.
what would you search for that? What would a layman search?
I can get it to you, and we might have a link.
It's the Fulton County Voter Registration Office. They have, they have, you can go to their website and find the locations.
Yeah, you may have to scroll down a bit. We also advertised the link recently in the newspaper, and I'll make sure it's on our webpage too, directing
Just to
people
get
go
to
there.
it, yeah, I've had trouble in the past trying to find that comprehensive list. On Friday, I attended my first 3rd District meeting as Vice President of 3rd District North for Georgia Municipal Association. It was very informative. They, of course, talked about all the things happening in the legislature that they're keeping an eye on and some implications of what's happening at the federal level. So just excited to get started in that new position. And today I spent about half the day at Ison Springs Elementary School, which is a school in District 2. It's pre-K week. I got to read to a bunch of young people and meet with teachers and just have a good time. And they gave me M&Ms, which I've been eating all this entire meeting. So thank you. No, sorry, it's pretty much all.
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Bauman.
Rocky, is the sample ballot out yet?
No, the sample ballot's not been printed yet. We just did our final ballot proof today.
And I know there were some changes, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I want to be one to congratulate Dr. Kelly, who is now the councilwoman-elect for District 2. So congratulations, Dr. Kelly.
Any staff reports? All right, we have to have an executive session for the purposes of real estate.
Mayor Paul, I move that we
Paulson.
suspend regular order, move into executive session for the purposes of real estate.
Mr. Paulson moves that we suspend regular order, move to executive session. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. DiGiulio. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the executive session. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are in executive session. There will be no further business conducted tonight. We'll simply return here and adjourn.
Get back to the gym. My poor dog.
They move them around for whatever the use is in the building. Mr. Paulson moves that we close the executive session and return to it, and seconded by Mr. DiGiulio. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the return to regular order. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Mr. DiGiulio. Mr. DiGiulio moves adjournment, seconded by Mr. Paulson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We are adjourned at 9:04.